Part 29. I'm Really Immortal. Author, Chulian Kuikan Rusiahua. Chapter 282. Qin's Haiqiang walked toward the dormitory, while Lu Chang'an walked toward the outside of the school. Although it was a little strange that Lu Chang'an didn't even go to Zhu Huntang's dinner party, Wei Xuanyi and Sun Shutong didn't care much and just followed Zhu Huntang. Zhu Huntang is of medium height, even a bit tall among southern girls. After all, except for one girl in the class who is 1.7 meters tall, the other girls are not as tall as Zhu Huntang. She walks differently from other girls. She looks particularly calm and elegant. She doesn't make any loose movements of her body or limbs due to her habitual sitting or standing posture, especially the white stockings and wet shoes she wore today. I don't know what kind of material those stockings are made of, but they actually exude a feeling as delicate and moist as skin. The back of the skirt sways as she walks, always making people feel that the wind is attracted to her, and playing around her always makes people are reminded of the saying under the fairy's skirt is the universe. Humanity's curiosity about the universe is a passion that has never faded since ancient times. University is indeed a place that can change lives. Both Wei Xuanyi and Sun Shutong know very well that if they were in other social environments, it would be impossible to meet a rich young lady like Zhu Huntang. Not to mention that you can eat in each other's private dining room after you just met. Everyone's restaurant is private, but what Zhu Huntang is referring to should be somewhat different, right? Is it the kind of facility that has the same facilities as a top restaurant, chefs, maids, and a huge restaurant that only serves Zhu Huntang? Simply dreamy. Wei Xuanyi and Sun Shutong followed Zhu Huntang. They didn't go far when they saw a mature woman who would make a young boy blush. She exuded intellectual sexiness. The pink and pearly toes on the front of her open-toed high-heeled shoes were like white chocolate. Just as tempting. Qin's Haiqiang is such a fool. He actually wants to go back to play games. Wei Xuanyi lowered his voice and said to Sun Shutong. Whatever, this is the fat mansion. I'm a little surprised that Lu Chang'an didn't go. I feel like he has a normal relationship with Zhu Huntang. He just left without saying he wanted to go, and Zhu Huntang didn't call him. Sun Shutong is very good at this. Observe. Wei Xuanyi was willing to agree with Sun Shutong's observation. A girl like Zhu Huntang must have her eyes set high, but since she is tall and can play basketball, it is not impossible to build some good feelings first. Who are these two? Zhu Huntang stopped beside Zhongqing. Zhongqing looked at Wei Xuanyi and Sun Shutong, who were walking behind him with some confusion. The two older boys both showed sunny and slightly awkward smiles. After all, this kind of mature and sexy woman exuded an aura that made the hormones in their bodies agitate. My classmates, let's go to a dinner party. Zhu Huntang continued to walk forward. Zhongqing felt a little strange and couldn't help but look back at Wei Xuanyi and Sun Shutong. At the same time, he showed a smile that required professionalism. After nodding slightly, he stretched out his hand to signal them to move forward. Wei Xuanyi and Sun Shutong looked at each other. This was probably someone close to Zhu Huntang. At first, they thought they were some kind of female CEO, female director, etc. They didn't know how to address each other, but Zhu Huntang had no intention of introducing them. Going up from the observation elevator of the building ahead, Wei Xuanyi and Sun Shutong saw a helicopter parked on the roof. Zhu Huntang gave instructions, and Zhongqing walked over and asked the crew to lower the sling. Hey, did you see that? That's the helicopter's sling. Zhu Huntang pointed to a ball of slings rolled together and said. I saw it, this helicopter is so big, Wei Xuanyi said excitedly. Although helicopters are not a rare thing, it is not very convenient to take a helicopter in China. Generally, there are only scenic spots or some flight training schools. You can go and experience it. Not to mention that the price of the experience is expensive, and the models are also very ordinary. Zhu Huntang's helicopter looks very luxurious, probably equivalent to the Rolls-Royce of helicopters. This is imported, right? Domestic helicopters cannot achieve this level, Sun Shutong commented knowledgeably. You can hold on to the hanging rope later, and I will take you there, Zhu Huntang said casually. The wind is not strong today, it is very safe, and we will arrive soon. Wei Xuanyi and Sun Shutong looked at each other again and stood there blankly. Did they hear wrongly? That's it, I'm not used to other people sitting on my private jet. After Zhu Huntang finished speaking, he was about to board the plane. Wait a minute, Zhu Huntang, you mean to let us hang by the rope? Wei Xuanyi called out to Zhu Huntang and pointed at the rope in disbelief. Otherwise, Zhu Huntang said impatiently, how could the eldest lady let strangers in that she didn't know at will? This is the basic quality of a young lady. Are you kidding? Sun Shutong laughed, feeling that she could not really arrange it like this. We are not Jackie Chan, nor are we Tom Cruise. What about this, filming? Who is joking with you? We just met, how could we just joke casually? Zhu Huntang became a little angry when he thought of joking, because Lu Chang'an always joked with her, and he didn't understand her at all. Lu Chang'an and Zhou Dongdong talked more seriously. Zhu Huntang, he sneered, you think you are Lu Chang'an, Xing Jing. After saying that, Zhu Huntang boarded the cabin. Zhongqing was already used to it. It was only natural that the eldest lady looked one way in front of Lu Chang'an and another in front of others. Do you two want to go there or take a taxi? Zhongqing asked gently. Hang you, hang you. Wei Xuanyi was so angry that he almost jumped up, but was caught by Sun Shutong. Zhongqing didn't care that the other party didn't blurt out any curse words, and boarded the helicopter himself. The ground crew pulled Wei Xuanyi and Sun Shutong away. The strong wind brought by the helicopter hurt people's faces. Watching Zhu Huntang leave, Wei Xuanyi and Sun Shutong stood there. They looked at each other and turned red with anger. The most important thing was the boy's self-esteem. And her sense of shame was unbearable to be trampled by this eldest lady who was completely different from the other. How could she do this? Haha, that's what these people are like. In fact, they still look down on us ordinary people. But, is she superior to others? If I had known earlier, I might as well have gone back to the dormitory with Qin's Haiqiang to play games. She pretends to be cute in class, but her true colors must be exposed. You are stupid, won't we also be embarrassed? Both of them fell silent. They had been taught this lesson on the first day of college. When they returned to the dormitory, they saw Qin's Haiqiang holding a mobile phone and enjoying himself. Suddenly, he felt a sense of happiness and satisfaction emanating from him. Why are you back? Qin's Haiqiang asked curiously. Wei Xuanyi and Sun Shutong didn't speak. They each went back to their beds and lay down. They took out their mobile phones and started playing. At this time, Lu Chang'an had just walked to the Zhezhou Bridge. As usual, Lu Chang'an was always bumped into by shared bicycles, mopeds, electric cars and the like as he walked slowly and leisurely on the narrow sidewalk. However, he did not think that he was obstructing traffic. Walking was also a mode of transportation. The bridge was built a long time ago. It was first built in September 1971, but it was completed and opened to traffic in October 1972. The construction work was mainly performed by local residents on a voluntary basis. This kind of speed and mode is difficult to imagine in modern times. Now when I think about it, I will probably have some complicated emotions that are difficult to express. This bridge is still the largest double-curved arch bridge in the country. There is an experimental bridge next to it with a ratio of 10:1 to verify new technologies. This experimental bridge has not been demolished to this day. Lu Chang'an remembers that the experimental requirements at that time were to exceed the design pressure by 4 times, and construction would not start until there were no problems. What a bridge, what a bridge! Lu Chang'an touched the bridge affectionately. The autumn wind is gradually rising. The autumn wind is strong once a year, and it is not like spring. Better than the spring sunshine, the vast river and the sky are covered with frost. Lu Chang'an thought it would be best to dry out a few kilograms of black beans in the autumn weather. The tempeh Lu Chang'an makes is different from the common tempeh made by Laoganma. There is no oil soaking process, and it is also different from those tempeh made from just black beans or soybeans. The tempeh he makes has dried beans added. Store it in a jar with chili and garlic, and it is most suitable for stir-frying meat. Just fry the pork in a pan, then add the black bean paste and stir-fry, and you will have a fried pork with black bean paste that is full of aroma and irresistible. During the period of resisting U.S. aggression and aiding Korea, this kind of black bean paste was used in large quantities to go with rice because it was salty and spicy, and it was also rich in nutrients. Frontline warrior. Of course, the soldiers at that time did not have the conditions to make stir-fried pork with black bean paste, but stir-fried pork with black bean paste was the most home-style and delicious dish among the various uses of black bean paste. Lu Chang'an went to buy black beans first. Returning to the community, I met Zhou Shuling and picked up Zhou Dongdong. The community was not far from the school. Zhou Shuling planned to get Zhou Dongdong acquainted with her a few more times, and then let her go to and from school alone. This school is really good. The teachers and principal are very polite and always ask me if I have any opinions or requirements. Zhou Shuling feels like her life is complete. You know how hard it is to let your children go to a good school. The thing is, for many people, the whole family went out to leverage the connections of all their relatives and friends. Then do you have any opinions or requests? Lu Chang'an asked casually. Zhou Shuling waved her hands quickly. Of course she had no objections or requests. She vaguely felt that it was impossible for the principal to meet every parent alone. It was probably because Qinyanan said hello. Her temperament was a bit coquettish and naive, but she was not stupid. It's not that you don't understand the ways of the world. I said I didn't want to go to elementary school and wanted to go back to kindergarten. The teachers and principals would just laugh. Zhou Dongdong's impression was completely different from Zhou Shuling's. Lu Chang'an also burst out laughing. There was nothing funny about this matter, but when he saw Zhou Dongdong suffered a serious blow and the child had no hope, Lu Chang'an wanted to comfort her with laughter. Zhou Dongdong opened his mouth slightly and looked at Lu Chang'an angrily. Look, they all smile like this. What's so funny? Aren't children supposed to play in kindergarten all the time? My watch is not for you to play with, Zhou Dongdong whispered, and walked into the community alone. She originally wanted to show off her children's watch to brother Chang'an and then play with him, but now she changed her mind. Are you going to make tempeh? Zhou Shuling and Lu Chang'an also went back. People here usually buy black beans to make tempeh. Yes, fried pork with black bean paste and fried rice with black bean paste. They are both simple to make and delicious. By the way, I bought her a children's watch to make it more convenient, but when setting the watch, you need to enter at least 2 emergency contact numbers. I want to be reliable in Juncha and not afraid of trouble others. You are the only one, so I just your number was entered into her watch. It's usually fine, just enter it once, enter it once. If you lose, just lose. Why are you peeking at my face now? I'm not afraid that you won't want to. Then you said you're not afraid of troublesome me. So I. Stop being so nagging. Oh. Zhou Shuling found that Lu Chang'an was quite capable of being cruel. She obviously thought that etiquette should be thoughtful. Is this wrong? Back home, Lu Chang'an threw some beans under the sycamore tree. They said that the vitality of seeds is extremely tenacious. Maybe he can harvest a bean sprout. Wash the remaining beans and soak them in water first. They must be soaked until they are softer before they can be used for steaming. Lu Chang'an sat next to the basin where the beans were soaked, holding a book and reading while pinching the beans in the basin and eating them. After reading for a while, the beans in his mouth became softer and softer. It felt almost ready. Lu Chang'an put down the book, turned over the beans, and started to set up a large stove to light the fire. Zhou Dongdong, who saw Lu Chang'an preparing to light a fire upstairs, hurriedly ran down. After all, she was a fire-burning activist canonized by Lu Chang'an. "I haven't even started the fire yet," Lu Chang'an slapped Zhou Dongdong's hand. As soon as she ran down, she picked up a wooden stick under the stairs and threw it into the stove. "I want to light it anyway." Zhou Dongdong certainly had his own reasons. "Have you finished your homework?" Lu Chang'an tried to drive Zhou Dongdong away. "Today's homework is to watch TV." Zhou Dongdong jumped happily. "Oh, what are you watching? The first lesson of school." "I don't want to watch TV, I want to light a fire." "Just burn it, don't burn your eyebrows again." "I'm not that stupid." Lu Chang'an set up the pot, lit the fire, and handed over the task of lighting the fire to Zhou Dongdong. "Brother Chang'an, are you cooking so many beans because your sister also wants to eat them?" "Which sister?" Lu Chang'an was thinking about what to eat for dinner. Zhou Dongdong called everyone sister. Lu Chang'an repeatedly taught her to call her aunt, but she never learned it. "Stupid children are difficult to educate, not all," she called go to Aunt Qinyanan. "Sister Egg." "Who is Sister Egg?" Lu Chang'an didn't know this person. Someone who can call her Egg must be quite amazing. This kind of courage is amazing. "That's Sister Egg." "How do you know him?" Lu Chang'an asked in a different way. "One morning, I came down to play happily and saw Sister Egg sitting on the tree, so I talked to her. Later we became good friends." Zhou Dongdong pointed at the tree and said. "Who is this?" Lu Chang'an and Zhou Dongdong looked up at the tree together, even though there was no egg sister on the tree at this time. This chapter is together with the one posted last night, and is now a 3-in-1 chapter. The original plan was to finish it at 2:30 in the morning, but I didn't expect that it would be delayed until 4:30. I was so exhausted that I went to bed. Before going to bed, I asked for a monthly pass. I'm really immortal. Author, Chulian Kuikan Ru Xiahua. Chapter 283. The evening breeze blew on their faces, carrying steaming water vapor, and the firewood crackled. Lu Chang'an and Zhou Dongdong looked up at the sycamore tree together, their cheeks flushed by the firelight. Sister Egg sitting on the sycamore tree. Lu Chang'an thought of a word, Fanqi Wutong. A long time ago in the ad, Lu Chang'an saw two kinds of colorful birds. At that time, people liked to make a fuss and had many fantasies in their hearts when they saw all things in nature, just like stupid children, they imagined some random things. The colorful bird is called Feng, and the other one is called Huang. But then the phoenix was called Phoenix. Now if Phoenix is a reference to the queen, someone will always point out with superiority, Phoenix is actually a male bird and Phoenix is a female bird. Since the Qin and Han dynasties, the emperor's power has gradually grown, the emperor is called the dragon, and the concubines in the harem are referred to as the phoenix. Good birds choose trees to roost in, and phoenixes roost in plain trees. The original meaning of the phoenix in this sentence certainly does not refer to the queen or queen mother on the tree. But when Lu Chang'an thought of this word, he also thought that there happened to be a girl here who was resentful of him and was qualified to be referred to as Feng. Is she Sister Dandan? Lu Chang'an lowered his head, pinched Zhou Dongdong's braid and wrapped it around his finger. Sister Egg, Zhou Dongdong said with great certainty. Is she Sister Dandan? Oh, I remember it was Sister Egg. Did you hold an egg in your hand and eat it? It seems so. That's Sister Dandan. Lu Chang'an understood after analyzing Zhou Dongdong's impression formation and interference with memory. That morning, Zhou Dongdong took an egg and went downstairs happily while eating it. He saw Shangguan Dandan sitting on the sycamore tree, shaking his two little feet. This is probably the scene. Sister Egg, Zhou Dongdong frowned and insisted. Why do you think I cooked beans for her to eat? Lu Chang'an suspected that Shangguan Dandan had not eaten hot eggs for 2,000 years and deceived Zhou Dongdong into eating the eggs. This is more difficult, Once Zhou Dongdong realizes that someone else wants to eat her food, her first reaction should be to put it directly into her mouth and swallow it. You cooked the beans, why don't you give them to your mother? Zhou Dongdong was very surprised. Zhou Dongdong often gave the delicious food to his mother. Lu Chang'an looked calm. Lu Chang felt at ease. Lu Chang'an remained motionless. Lu Chang'an was as calm as ever. She told you that she is my mother. Lu Chang'an's tone was also very gentle. Zhou Dongdong nodded. I asked her who she was and why she was sitting in the tree. She said she was your mother. Lu Chang'an was completely sure that Sister Dandan was Shangguan Dandan. It could not be anyone else. She was the only one who was thinking about what happened more than 2,000 years ago and insisted that she was Lu Chang'an's mother. What else did she say to you? Lu Chang'an continued to ask. Zhou Dongdong threw the firewood into the stove and couldn't remember it after thinking about it. Children's memories are also fragmented, and they often need to be guided and given a topic and context to allow them to tell the correct scene of their memories. It was a bit difficult for Lu Chang'an to let Zhou Dongdong think by himself. Did she say when she would come to play with you again? She said that when I was alone, she would come to play with me. Zhou Dongdong remembered this, because Zhou Dongdong had few friends, and even fewer of them were willing to come to Zhou Dongdong to play, so Zhou Dongdong felt that anyone who would come to play with him was a good friend. Did you eat at my house that day? We ate pig's feet that day. We ate pig's trotters, stewed with pickled vegetables. On Valentine's Day, Lu Chang'an and An Nuan went out early in the morning, and it was a rainy day. In the afternoon, they came back and drank glutinous rice wine with Qinyanan and Zhu Huntang, and then I went to buy boards and came back to make furniture. Zhou Dongdong ate 3 pig feet in the evening. She sits on the sycamore tree when it rains. Zhu Huntang's catchphrase can be used to describe Shangguan Dandan. Zhou Dongdong nodded and continued to light the fire. Lu Chang'an didn't ask her any more questions. He touched her head and asked her to light the fire. He walked to the transport truck and said to the coffin, "It's not interesting to sit in the coffin reading novels all day long, is it? When will we do it again? Come out for some air." Shangguan Dandan didn't speak or send him a message. You have already come out, the flowing wind outside, the dripping water, the clear veins on the leaves, the smell from the bark, the wet soil under your feet, the smooth and comfortable feeling in your mouth and chest and lungs when you breathe. You, after experiencing it and recalling it, can I still endure the darkness in the coffin? Lu Chang'an is good at temptation. For most people, an accustomed environment is a great temptation. This is homesickness, the origin of. Even though Shangguan Dandan has become accustomed to the environment in the coffin, in fact, for her, she has no choice but to enter the coffin after all, or for some special reasons. Her body will long for the world where she once breathed and ran freely, otherwise she would not. After sneaking out like this and being able to experience the real world, the thought of running out again will become even stronger. I told Zhou Dongdong not to tell others. Lu Chang'an received such a message. First, to Zhou Dongdong, I am the Chang'an brother she admires, not anyone else. Second, you said you are my mother. In Zhou Dongdong's eyes, mother and child are the closest, so tell me too. It does not belong to the category of telling others. Lu Chang'an knew Zhou Dongdong very well. You tell her directly next time, and you are not allowed to tell Lu Chang'an, and she will do as you say. I won't come out. You want to use me to make pills again. I haven't made elixirs with you. At that time, using people and human body parts to make elixirs was already considered a witchcraft, right? How could you make elixirs of immortality using people who can't live forever? Isn't this funny? I'm so stupid person. Lu Chang'an didn't know why she had such an impression. I can live forever now. I can be used as material. Tan Taijing stopped sending messages, and her voice came out through the bronze coffin. Are you so loudly declaring your awareness of being the material for refining the elixir of immortality? Lu Chang'an patted the coffin. How dare you say you are immortal by relying on this coffin? I have always used my own elixirs. Jing Yuan. Then I'm your mother too. It was just an inheritance ceremony at that time, but, look, you know the opera, right? Can the title of singing opera be taken seriously? Everyone knows that the play is a play. I recognize you as my son and inherit the throne of the emperor. This is not a play. It is history. History cannot be changed or denied. Please realize this, Emperor. I'm no longer the emperor. Lu Chang'an couldn't communicate with her and left the carriage. He was really angry, not angry. Lu Chang'an calmly sat back next to Zhou Dongdong. Double monthly pass, please give me a monthly pass. You are listening to novels at Bless Up channel. Wish you happiness and luck. Please subscribe to receive new novels. How do you feel about this novel? Please like and leave a comment. I'm really immortal. Author, Chulian Kui Kan Ru Xiahua. Chapter 284. Lu Chang'an opened the lid of the pot and turned over the beans. The beans were plump and round, densely packed, a bit like sturgeon caviar. In fact, fish roe is a good thing, such as carp roe. Nowadays, fewer people eat carp. In the past, grass carp, bighead carp, and silver carp were often raised in fish ponds in rural areas, and the fry were released. Carp and crucian carp often do not need fry. Some generous farmers don't mind if their neighbors jump into the fish ponds and pick up a few crucian carp or carp in the cracks between rocks and aquatic plants, as long as they don't move the stocked fry. At that time, carp was often served on the table, steamed with spicy sauce or black bean sauce. The carp meat was not so soft and tender, but tasted tighter and firmer, giving it a different flavor. Carp roe is actually very delicious, and Lu Chang'an hasn't eaten it for a long time. He only went to the wet market to buy a fish and let the fish seller chop it. It would also be good to take the roe and fish offal and fry them or make fish offal powder. After thinking about food for a while, Lu Chang'an put the lid on the pot and no longer thought about Shang Guan Dandan. She believed that history cannot be denied or changed. This is a very positive historical concept and deserves praise. I kind of want to eat fish roe. The protein content of fish roe is very high. It contains antioxidants and collagen-promoting ingredients. Girls can reduce wrinkles by eating it. It is also rich in vitamins, calcium, phosphorus, iron, etc. In fact, soybeans it is also rich in these things and can also delay aging and other effects. Efficacy is one thing. Most of the so-called nutritious foods have a price difference of hundreds and thousands of times. In fact, the gap in nutritional value is not that big at all. Therefore, the most important thing is that when deciding what to eat, it is better to focus on taste to save trouble. For example, barbecue, which is known to be the leading cause of cancer, still needs to be eaten from time to time. So, should we eat fish roe and offal tonight, or should we have barbecue? Zhou Dongdong, what do you want to eat at night? Lu Chang'an is very casual in everything he does, which means he makes decisions quickly and decisively. But the matter of what to eat has to be considered every day, and every day the number of times is much more than that of ordinary people, so it is inevitable that there will be some hesitation. It's delicious. Zhou Dongdong is not picky about food, she eats everything delicious. Then let's go to the buffet. Lu Chang'an thought about it. We eat spiders. Zhou Dongdong thought of the last time Chang and brother caught bugs and ate them. Maybe spiders are also delicious? Didn't I tell you last time that spiders are inedible? Oh, what are those spiders? Self-help is very different from a spider. What exactly is that? It's just a lot of things, you can eat as you like. After Lu Chang'an finished speaking, he threw 2 briquettes into the big stove. Judging from the fire, it should be able to ignite the briquettes until Lu Chang'an and Zhou Dongdong came back. Zhou Dongdong thought for a moment, jumped up quickly, then trotted to follow Lu Chang'an, and grabbed his little finger. Lu Chang'an did not go to the Japanese restaurant where Zhongqing treated him last time, nor to the buffet restaurant of Bailong Central Hotel. Instead, he walked a little further and came to the Grand Hyatt Hotel on the riverside. He used to be in the Juncha Star Hotel. Buffets are only available at Sheraton and Wyndham. Now many high-end brand hotels have opened, and the competition for buffet sales of the same level has also become fierce. The buffet should be slightly better so that the quality of the dishes is guaranteed, the chance of children eating a lot and getting diarrhea is reduced, and there are more varieties of fruits. The price on WeChat is 328 yuan per person, and children under 1.2 meters tall are free. It's a good deal, because Zhou Dongdong can definitely eat like a ball. The buffet restaurant is on the first floor, a little to the left in front of the hotel lobby entrance. After Lu Chang'an and Zhou Dongdong entered, the waiter took their seats. Zhou Dongdong still stood motionless in the dining area. She was shocked when Lu Chang'an brought a plate to her. He expressed his worries. There is so much food, and if we can't finish it, what should we do? Finished eating? Lu Chang'an admired her ambition, but did not support it. He ordered some roast duck, which was the same as the fruitwood roast duck in the Xiangjiang 36 restaurant upstairs. It tasted almost the same, with a faint fruitwood fragrance. Lu Chang'an now wanted to make a roast duck with authentic taste and satisfaction. It's hard work, let's see if Qin Yanan is interested in doing it tomorrow. She seems to be quite busy recently, so Lu Chang'an decided to eat more. Lu Chang'an turned around and found that Zhou Dongdong was still standing there without moving, with only his eyeballs rolling around in his eye sockets. Lu Chang'an understood the situation. For example, when a stupid computer tries to perform multiple tasks, often only the mouse can swipe across the screen. Lu Chang'an picked up some dishes for the stupid kid who was so shocked that she didn't know what to eat first because she was so shocked by the delicious food. Then he carried her back to her seat. When Zhou Dongdong only faced the plate in front of him, he finally acted normally. The barrier unfolded. Lu Chang'an, like most people who come to dine in a group, still frequently play with their mobile phones. He took out his mobile phone. After reading An Nuan's messages, she had some positive complaints about university life. The counselor and department chair were both familiar big brothers and uncles, and they gave her a lot of tasks and expectations. She felt that the student cadres in the university were better than those in high school. There are more things to do, and she feels that she can handle it, but she just hopes that it will not affect her personal life. This is mainly about love. The words between the lines reveal that the distance between the two people is separated by a bus line. Is this considered a long-distance place? Doubts about love. I also received a first draft of the paper. Regarding the research on Guo Moruo and Li Bai, the little girl claimed to have adopted some of Lu Chang'an's opinions, especially the direction guidance is the most important. Thank you very much. Lu Chang'an deserves it. Professor Lu also guided students back then. Thesis, but Lu Chang'an didn't read the thesis she sent carefully. Instead, he went to the King Guiufei Yang circle of friends to like a few of her selfies and left a message. The name King Guiufei Yang sounds like someone with menopause. Middle-aged aunt. Nowadays, many little girls often call men greasy middle-aged uncles. As a counterattack from men, no matter how old they are, they always respond with menopausal middle-aged aunts. It feels very harmonious and complements each other. Lu Chang'an thought about all these things. It was a very pleasant thing to eat and play with his mobile phone at the same time. Lu Chang'an went to the dining area near the door to wait for the oysters. When he turned around, he saw a girl in a green skirt walking leisurely from the side of the lobby front desk. There was an elevator leading to the guest rooms upstairs and to the shopping mall downstairs. He had seen the back of this girl when he reported in the morning. Lu Chang'an would not be so forgetful. The oysters were roasted, and he would not give up the tender and juicy oysters just to catch up and see why he felt that her back was familiar. After finishing the buffet, Lu Chang'an carried Zhou Dongdong back under the creaking nest as usual. She still hoped that after she and brother Chang'an left, the others could finish all the food. After returning home, Lu Chang'an looked at the fire and saw that the two briquettes were burning brightly. Lu Chang'an went to get a basin of water to put out the fire. He opened the lid of the pot and turned over the beans. When they were ready, he quickly put the lid back on the pot. Cover it. The kind of tempeh he makes is not like the double steaming of Liu Yang tempeh. It only needs to be steamed once, but after the fire is stopped, it needs to be simmered for 4 hours, which is about the same as the steaming time. Let's make some hot sauce tomorrow. Tempeh and hot sauce are really essential condiments in the home kitchen. Just when I was thinking about black beans and hot sauce, Bai Hui called me. The interesting thing about interpersonal relationships is that when we don't know each other well, it's inconvenient to call directly. But when we get acquainted with each other, we feel that it's okay to talk on the phone. It's good. When we get more familiar with each other, the phone calls may become less frequent and become text or picture messages. Lu Chang'an, there is military training tomorrow. Have you prepared the magic weapon? What? It's going to be sunny tomorrow, and you'll sweat a lot during military training. You'll sweat a lot in places like creaking holes and soles of your feet. It's going to be uncomfortable. Can this artifact of yours solve these problems? Of course Lu Chang'an is not worried about this. He will also sweat, but it is definitely not to the extent of ordinary people, not to mention that his endurance far exceeds that of his classmates. Right. Oh, then you can use it. Don't you want it? I recommend it to you. You can buy it at the canteen. No goodbye. Lu Chang'an hung up the phone politely. Bai Hui reluctantly sent another message. It turned out to be a sanitary napkin. She also found a web article on how boys use sanitary napkins and sent it over. Neuropathy. Lu Chang'an decided that if Bai Hui tried to sell this artifact to him again, he would block her. Thanks to P0D9 Andy's generous reward, a new leader has been added to this book. She had trouble sleeping all night last night and wrote this chapter in the morning. Xiahua planned to wait until night before going to bed and adjust her schedule to cope with the explosive update activity starting on the 30th. Hey, yesterday I saw another author who suddenly died after coding all night long. I'm really immortal. Author, Chulian Kui Kan Ru Xiahua. Chapter 285. After Bai Hui sent the message, Lu Chang'an did not reply to her. This was a very common situation, because it was said that even in Nuan, Lu Chang'an would not reply to her message immediately. It was also normal for other classmates and friends to say that they could not contact Lu Chang'an after sending messages to him. Things. But Bai Hui also heard that when a boy and a girl are passionately in love, it is the most basic thing for a boy to respond to messages instantly, especially boys must do this, because it is a girl's basic right. If you really care about someone, as long as you see the other person's message, you will definitely reply quickly. Almost all girls believe this. In other words, Lu Chang'an may not really care about N Nuan. Thinking of this, Bai Hui stood on tiptoe and jumped a little happily, waiting for the ripples transmitted by the heel to fall and the natural curvature of the hip line. When the function graph of y equals sinks was completed on the chest, Bai Hui's mood also fluctuated with anxiety. She had a bad feeling. Although Lu Chang'an hung up the phone as neatly as usual, he seemed a little unhappy. She wouldn't be blocked by him, right? Thinking of this, Bai Hui looked at her phone and wanted to call him again to test it out, but she was worried that if he didn't block her, calling her without knowing what to say or continuing the previous topic would make her feel uncomfortable. Is he irritable? What if he really blocked her? Then I will block him too. Bai Hui pursed her lips and made up her mind unhappily. This Lu Chang'an actually blocked himself. One day when he thought of calling her, he found that he had been blocked by her. It's dark, I don't know what kind of bad face he will have. Haha, Bai Hui suddenly felt happy. He clicked on his personal information, clicked block this caller number, unblock this caller number, clicked several times, and felt that Lu Chang'an was being played by him and applauded. I'm so happy. After Bai Hui clicked a few times, she returned to the dormitory without any interest. She just made the call in the laundry room. Even if you do block him, maybe he will never find out that he has been blocked. Wow, Baifan, your phone case is so beautiful. Bai Hui's roommate Yan Xiang looked at Bai Hui's cell phone with envy. She remembered that Bai Hui didn't wear this phone case during the day. I quite like it, too, Bai Hui said somewhat reservedly. Now that she is a rich woman, she no longer wants to show off her new goodies as much as before. Of course, the most important thing is the new classmates, who are unfamiliar to everyone. Where did you buy it? How much did it cost? I want to buy one too, but I don't know if it has my phone style. Yan Xiang tugged at his huge Kumaman phone case. My cousin brought it back from Taiwan. She came to school today and gave it to me. I didn't ask how much it cost. There are probably purchasing agents online, Bai Hui said calmly. That must be very expensive. Another roommate, Li Hungman, also noticed Bai Hui's mobile phone case. The girl has the same taste for such shiny and jeweled things as the female crow. Yan Xiang reluctantly took a picture of Bai Hui's phone case and searched it using the recognition search function of the shopping software. He actually found the same model. Yan Xiang exclaimed, more than 3,000. It's more expensive than my phone. Feeling the dumbfounded gazes of her roommates, Bai Hui kept a calm expression. Of course she felt happy in her heart. Girls just like this feeling. Otherwise, why is it said that a girl's vanity is an all-round attribute from the inside out? Vanity from the inside out, that is reality. Then your phone must also be a 7P, Zhao Yu, who had just finished a phone call with her boyfriend, exclaimed. Although this thing is not a rare thing, girls want it very much. Market research also proves that women have a stronger desire to buy mobile phones of this brand and model. Yes, I just bought it before the college entrance examination this year. Bai Hui felt that her roommates looked at her differently. Alas, the little rich woman will be exposed sooner or later. There is no way around it. After all, her quality of life will depend on it in the future. It will also appear that he is different from his roommates, and there is no need to hide it. That's a bit of a loss. The new model should be released this month. It's better to buy the new model, Li Hungman said sadly. In fact, she had planned to wait for the new model to come out and buy an old model after the price of the old model dropped. She saved some money herself, asked her family for more, and sold her old mobile phone. Change it again, Bai Hui still said calmly. Tisk tisk, there really is a rich woman in our dormitory. Yan Xiang exaggeratedly hugged Bai Hui. How about we eat and drink with you from now on? Li Hungman and Zhao Yu smiled unnaturally. Actually, this mobile phone was given to me by someone else, Bai Hui said. Her heartbeat was a little fast, just like the first time when she was a child. She lied and told her better grades when an elder asked about her grades. Boyfriend, Zhao Yu asked tentatively, because when Bai Hui was talking to her, he realized that Bai Hui might have someone he liked. No, Bai Hui said still very calmly, I just did him a favor and got some reward unexpectedly. A few girls smiled. We were all girls, so no one knew there must be something hidden behind their words. You originally asked me if that one is definitely useful. Just tell the boy you mentioned Zhao Yu was the source of promoting this artifact in the class group, and she also recommended it to her boyfriend. That's right. We are friends. Let's remind him. Bai Hui brushed her bangs and found that she liked talking about such topics with others. I don't know why, but it feels like talking about luxury goods, small skirts, various cosmetics and skincare products with others to satisfy her vanity is more joyful and expectant, maybe just a little bit, but that kind of the strange feeling made Bai Hui feel even weirder. How could he be like this? Hey, it seems that the boys in our class have no hope. I saw you talking in the group today, and they responded most positively. Don't you have a high school classmate in our class? She said that many boys are looking for her. I'm asking about you, Lee Hungman said regretfully. During her college years, she planned to improve her overall quality in all aspects, and was working hard to expand her social circle. She chatted a lot, but there was no useful improvement, but she got a lot from gossip. Are they here to study or to fall in love? Bai Hui thought of Qian Ning and Lu Yuan and suddenly felt a little irritable. I haven't been in love in high school, and it's especially exciting in college, Yan Xiang said with certainty. Let nature take its course, Li Hungman said with a slightly expectant tone. Bai Hui remembered that thing again and looked at Zhao Yu with some worry. By the way, you are recommending it to your boyfriend, but I am not. Will others think my suggestion is inappropriate or something? No way, who could be so stingy? You also have good intentions. Even if he doesn't want to, who kind of lunatic would blame you? Zhao Yu is someone who has experienced this, and he knows very well that Bai Hui is afraid of self-defeating and incurring resentment from others. Bai Hui felt relieved and smiled slightly. Let's go have supper, I'll treat you. Okay, my first late-night snack in Shonan. Hold the rich lady's thighs tight. Hurry up, let's go. Lu Chang'an didn't care about the advice Bai Hui gave, nor did he care about her sudden and unreliable concern. As long as Bai Hui didn't continue to talk to him about this matter, he would soon forget about it. In fact, he didn't. Why are women's products taboo? But even ordinary men would feel awkward doing this. As people live for a long time, it is an instinct to organize their emotions, because emotions, like memories, are things that accumulate, but this kind of invisible and qualityless thing stored in neurons cannot be like the toxins, waste residue, etc. absorbed by the body. It will be excreted naturally from the body. Lu Chang'an will not let himself become a person without emotions, because emotions are closely related to desires. People without emotions and desires will be immortal and no different from fossils. What Lu Chang'an cares about most now is his beans. In the middle of the night, Lu Chang'an removed the circle of gauze soaked in water and pressed against the edge of the pot lid, opened the pot lid, and the steam steamed. The freshly cooked beans were fragrant, round and full, soft and moderate, with smooth skin but not rotten. It is a good ingredient for making tempeh. After the beans were taken out of the pot and the water was filtered, Lu Chang'an packed the beans and put them in the carriage of the transport truck. This was to prevent him from leaving them at home, and Zhou Dongdong would come and eat some if he had nothing to do. The next step is to wait for the beans to ferment and grow mold. Lu Chang'an went in and came out again without talking to Shang Guandandan. In the past, he had hoped that Shang Guandandan would come out and live with him, and experience the new life together after the passage of time after the ancients reunited. But now he feels that she is still. It would be better to just stay in the coffin and read. After all, he recharged her phone bill and her mobile phone, and she didn't have to eat, so she could just stay in the coffin. You know how many people this is. It's a dream life. There is always a feeling that if Shang Guandandan really escapes, it will bring him a lot of trouble and problems. Lu Chang'an is not afraid of trouble, but he doesn't want to have any trouble. Let the wind fall asleep. Lu Chang'an went back upstairs and slept on the deck chair on the balcony. Feeling the faint light in the morning, Lu Chang'an opened his eyes. The sycamore leaves above his head were still green, but there was already a trace of yellow in the green, as if the root of the disease had been planted in a person. He looked alive and kicking, and he couldn't tell where. The sky suddenly showed signs of decay. Autumn is here, and the leisurely blue sky is getting higher and higher day by day. The sky in the south is not as spacious as that outside the Great Wall, but the light blue also looks calm and comfortable. The temperature in the morning is cooler than in the past. Lu Chang'an touched it. Touching his arm, the skin also felt moist, unlike the smooth and warm feeling when he came out of the quilt. Lu Chang'an squinted his eyes. After a summer left, it was like that hot woman finally became gentle, the look in her eyes, the seduction is no longer so hot and direct, but has become a deeper seductive charm. This early autumn will still be a bit hot, so Lu Chang'an would save the remaining heat to make a spicy sauce with a sweet aftertaste. To make hot sauce, chili peppers are of course essential, and they must be local chili peppers produced in central Shonan. This kind of chili pepper is only available in vegetable markets. If you go to the supermarket to buy it, it will cost a few yuan or even more than 10 yuan for a small bag, which is not worth it. Lu Chang'an is often more generous to veteran farmers who grow their own vegetables, but companies producing products that are less than industrialized are naturally more picky. There were a lot of peppers in the vegetable market, and red peppers were piled all over the floor. After asking about the place of origin, Lu Chang'an took a few peppers and smelled them. He scraped the skin with his fingernails, squeezed out some of the pepper juice and dipped it on his tongue to taste. It felt pretty good, so I nodded and spent an hour picking out a linen bag to carry on my back. I bought some sword beans by the way, which are also great in hot sauce. Passing by a fish stall, he remembered that he had been willing to eat fish roe and offal yesterday, but in the end he went to the buffet, which naturally did not satisfy his taste. Lu Chang'an took a look and saw that there happened to be a mandarin fish, even if it was not the most popular mandarin fish. It was plump in season, but it also looked delicious. Lu Chang'an saw it jumping around and not knowing whether to live or die, so he decided to eat it. After returning home, Lu Chang'an called Qin Yinan, "Instructor, I need to take a day off in the morning." Qin Yinan was a little surprised, but asked competently, "What do you want to do?" "You have to take leave on the first day of military training." "I bought some chili peppers and I want to make some hot sauce." Of course Lu Chang'an asked for leave because he had enough reasons. Can't you do it at another time?" Qin Yinan also knew Lu Chang'an's high school and knew that this was his normal state and asking for leave was a very correct attitude. "I just bought these peppers this morning and they look fresh. I have to chop them quickly. I'll go home in the afternoon. The weather may spoil easily." Lu Chang'an didn't want to waste the peppers he carefully selected. "Okay, then you have to come over in the afternoon," Qin Yinan said helplessly. "Thank you, cousin." Lu Chang'an hung up the phone. "Cousin?" Qin Yinan didn't dare to take it seriously, but he felt a little strangely excited. Zhou Dongdong and Zhou Shuling walked past Lu Chang'an in the morning. Zhou Dongdong couldn't sit on a small stool as usual and watch brother Chang'an busy working on something he didn't know what he was doing. He was dragged to school by Zhou Shuling with some melancholy. Lu Chang'an did not chop the peppers immediately, but slaughtered the mandarin fish first. After washing it, he cut the mandarin fish open and pressed it flat with a knife. He crushed each piece into pieces and spread it on the mandarin fish, and poured some more spicy bean curd oil on top. This was the stinky bean curd he made himself, and the smell was also outstanding. Then wrap the mandarin fish with stinky bean curd evenly, put it in a bucket, and press it tightly with an old chopping board. After 3 or 4 days of this weather, the ingredients for the stinky mandarin fish will be ready. Unlike most stinky tofu that doesn't stink at all, stinky mandarin fish really smells bad but tastes delicious. After putting away the mandarin fish, Lu Chang'an began to wash the peppers, and Zhu Huntang walked over slowly. "Good morning, classmate Lu Chang'an." Zhu Huntang obviously felt very fond of this title, and shouted again, "Classmate Lu Chang'an." "Morning. You didn't go to military training. Aren't you going to?" "Of course I won't go." Zhu Huntang is a fairy. How can a fairy participate in military training? Naturally, he had already asked for leave. Zhu Huntang didn't expect to know that Lu Chang'an was not going to the military training today when he called Qin Yinan. He felt the joy of escaping the military training together and hurriedly came to share the escaping military training with Lu Chang'an. "Happy time. I'll go in the afternoon." "Why don't you go there at all?" Go to my house and read a book in the afternoon. Lu Chang'an was a little moved, but he had to stick to the principle. If he said he would only take one morning off, he would only take one morning off. Oh, my mother went to Europe again. Yaya is busy every day and bored to death. Zhu Huntang sat down boredly. She sat in front of Lu Chang'an. Today, Zhu Huntang was rarely wearing the white stockings that she thought were most suitable for dreamy girls. The crystal clear and delicate color of her legs was as fresh and tender as steamed mandarin fish meat, but the stinky mandarin fish cooked by Lu Chang'an smelled. It was very smelly, but Zhu Huntang sat there like a crisp and tender flower, swaying delicately and exuding a moving fragrance. Lu Chang'an looked at Zhu Huntang, but what he was thinking about was the elusive third wife. It was normal for people like this who were busy with their careers to come and go, but the third wife had repeatedly shown her desire to learn something from Lu Chang'an since she arrived in Juncha. Come, but it seems like nothing specific has been done, which is really strange. You said your mother does things unscrupulously, Lu Chang'an asked. Zhu Huntang nodded heavily. Fortunately, his mother did not use any means to bring him and Lu Chang'an together, otherwise it would have been too shameful and a bit sorry for Qin Yinan. Lu Chang'an also nodded. An unscrupulous person would never let his children become a blind spot that she could exploit. By the way, did you see my helicopter yesterday? Zhu Huntang stretched out a finger and turned it, imitating the propeller of the helicopter. I saw it. I walked to the bridge at that time. This is not a strange thing. The Orange Island administration also has a helicopter that often flies around Orange Island. I asked those two men to hang on a rope and carry them across the river yesterday, but they were unwilling. Zhu Huntang was a little angry. Don't these stupid men have any sense of self-consciousness? If a mortal wants to get close to a fairy, of course he has to accept a test, but they don't even have the courage to be tested. When should I try it someday? Lu Chang'an thought for a while. If I jump off the rope, will the driver notice? Zhu Huntang was stunned for a moment. Yes, of course the hanging rope has load-bearing sensitivity. Oh, got it? What are you going to do? Zhu Huntang was extremely curious and itchy. Aren't you a fat sheep? A fat sheep must have the consciousness of a fat sheep. How can you find out the secrets of the sect leader? Lu Chang'an is not worried about this ordinary gang member. No, she has been demoted to a trainee gang member by Qin Yinan. Zhu Huntang pouted. This Zhu Fenglai sword sect is not fun at all. Monthly pass, monthly pass. Hello everyone, I am sending you a large chapter of 4,980 words. Please vote for me every month. Please also read the next chapter's comments for more votes. I'm really immortal. Author, Chulian Kui Kan Ru Xiahua. Chapter 286. Of course, Kyushu Fenglai Jianmen is not fun, just like Zhou Dongdong thinks that going to elementary school is not fun. Fun is not the main attribute of any organization with social responsibility. The social responsibility of Zhu Fenglai Jianmen is currently unclear, but according to Qin Yinan's plan, there is no doubt that it is not in the direction that Zhu Huntang likes. You are so free, come and chop the chili peppers for me. Chopping a sack of chili peppers is not something that can be done quickly even if Lu Chang'an is very skilled with a knife. He is not impatient and can take his time, but he has to go to the military training in the afternoon, and the water-soaked peppers must be processed as soon as possible, otherwise they will easily rot. In minor cases, the broken parts of the skin will taste wrong after being soaked in water. Okay, Zhu Huntang picked up the phone naturally. For her, doing things for others is equivalent to calling people to do things for them. Come here. Lu Chang'an wanted Zhu Huntang to leave a deep impression that there would be nothing good to do if he came to Lu Chang'an. Me? Zhu Huntang looked at Lu Chang'an in disbelief, then chuckled and waved his hand. Lu Chang'an was joking with him again. Come and try. Lu Chang'an brought over another chopping board and a kitchen knife. Zhu Huntang put his hands behind his back and refused. You might as well put me on the chopping board and chop me up. In any sect, disciples and gang members need to go through special training to upgrade, and the experience of our Joseph sword sect is that if the trainee disciples want to surpass the ordinary gang members and upgrade to the elite gang members, they need to chop 10 kilograms. Chili Pepper Lu Chang'an temporarily created a sect rule. He is the sect leader, so of course he has the final say. Zhu Huntang put his hands on his legs and tugged on his skirt. He thought hard for a while and finally made up his mind, no, if it cuts my hand, I won't be perfect. The most perfectly evolved creature Lu Chang'an has ever seen is himself. The second is a spherical tentacle creature. Its main body structure is a hard spherical shell wrapping the brain and organs. The whole body is covered with tentacles. These tentacles can fall off on their own or climb and run when it encounters danger. Even merged into wings, this creature has now entered the Mariana Trench, and humans have not yet discovered their existence. If you chop 10 pounds of chili peppers, you will be eligible to participate in our Joseph sword sect's first operation, Lu Chang'an continued. Okay, Zhu Huntang agreed sadly. Lu Chang'an once demonstrated how to chop peppers and looked at Zhu Huntang. Even Zhou Dongdong could learn such an extremely simple thing in one go. This should be the bottom line of human learning ability. It's so sharp. Will I chop off my hand if I'm not careful? Zhu Huntang picked up the kitchen knife and looked at the sharp blade. I cut a watermelon for my great-grandmother during the Chinese New Year, and she praised me. As Zhu Huntang glanced at Lu Chang'an, she picked up the kitchen knife, but Lu Chang'an still didn't praise her. Shouldn't he say some words of encouragement at this time? Chop it. Lu Chang'an began to chop it quickly. Zhu Huntang looked at Lu Chang'an, held a chili pepper and placed it on the chopping board. Then he held the handle of the knife with both hands and chopped it down hard. Ha ha, hey, the knife can't be pulled out. Zhu Huntang watched the pepper being chopped into 2 pieces. Half of it flew to Lu Chang'an's sleeve, and the other half fell to the ground. He felt that it was still a success and just laughed twice. And found that the kitchen knife had cut into the chopping board. You are quite strong, Lu Chang'an commented calmly. It's okay, Zhu Huntang was reserved. After all, fairies don't seem to be very elegant despite their strength. Let's play while we're at it. Lu Chang'an didn't even have the slightest idea of saving her or seeing the consequences. He still overestimated her. I've just started, Zhu Huntang was unconvinced. She had already chopped a pepper. She didn't cut her hand, and there were no other failures. It was just the kitchen knife getting stuck in the chopping board. She still wanted to prove herself, and indeed there were many "it's just something I don't want to do, but I can still control it easily if I do it myself." "Where are you going to sit?" Lu Chang'an pointed to the stool. "I." Lu Chang'an held a chili pepper against her forehead and pushed her away. Zhu Huntang sneered, "Stupid man, he is the one who wants her to work, and he is the one who doesn't let her work. I really don't know what is going on in the mind of a creature like a man." Lu Chang'an put 2 chopping boards together, holding a kitchen knife in one hand. When he lifted the knife, it fell into the water and could not be splashed. The bright red peppers spattered and fell again, but not much fell out of the position of the chopping board. After a while, the chopping board was full. Lu Chang'an put the crushed red peppers into a basin and piled them up like a hill, exuding a fresh and attractive spicy smell. "That's amazing," Zhu Huntang exclaimed in a cooing voice without realizing it. He had been coming to Juncha for a long time, but his native accent was hard to change. At this time Zhou Shuling came back. She sent Zhou Dongdong to school and then went to Bailong Center to talk about something. "The eldest lady is here too," Zhou Shuling immediately smiled, not because she was deliberately trying to please her, but in Zhou Shuling's eyes, Zhu Huntang was the fairy that every woman wanted to become in her dream. "Sister Zhou, where is little Dongdong?" Zhu Huntang put his hands on his knees. Even on a short stool, his skirt was pressed snugly, and his legs were leaning together diagonally. He was very cute and well behaved. Appearance. Going to school. Oh, yes, school has started. I go to school too. Zhu Huntang continued to speak in a cute manner. Then what are you doing now? Lu Chang'an said casually. Let's see you chop chili peppers. Are you asking without knowing this? Really, stupid man. Sister Zhou, I am the third in line. Only people here in Beilong call me eldest lady. You can just call me third sister. Zhu Huntang was still very polite to people who recognized her fairy status, and said to Zhou Shuling. How can Zhou Shuling call her third sister? She finally understood. What Zhu Huntang meant was that people who worked in Beilong would call her eldest lady, which was more respectful. Only those who followed her from Taiwan would know where she ranked in the Zhu family. Call her Miss San. From now on, I will beg for food from your side. Zhou Shuling was still very polite. Many times those rich people like to act like they have no heirs, but if you really think that he has no heirs, you will not be laughing and joking with him lightly. It's not serious, it might offend someone, so I'll just turn around and write it down. We have a cooperative relationship. We only provide shops and management. Zhu Huntang was also polite. Lu Chang'an listened to their polite words and chopped his own chili peppers. Zhou Shuling talked to Zhu Huntang for a while, washed her hands, and squatted aside to help Lu Chang'an wash the sword beans and ginger, peel the garlic, and chop these. I'm so angry. I took her twice yesterday. I took her to school today and asked her if she knew the road. She had no memory at all. I remember every turn and where to go straight. Zhou Shuling added. Chatted with Lu Chang'an. Who can blame this? Is it my fault? It's not your fault, you gave birth to it yourself. A mouse's son can dig holes, but the child you gave birth to doesn't know the way. Isn't it your fault? Zhou Shuling was not convinced and always felt that she was smarter. Your method is wrong. You pick her up after school today, take her to a stinky tofu shop, buy her some stinky tofu, and tell her to walk here first when you go home, and then you take her with you. Go to the next place, such as the place selling juice, buy her a glass of juice, tell her to go here again, and then take her back to the next place selling food, so that she remembers the way and understands. Is that so? The procedure for sending her to school tomorrow will be the same. Starting from home, the key issue still needs to be solved by Lu Chang'an. Zhou Shuling suddenly realized that this was how she should deal with Zhou Dongdong. Zhu Huntang listened and admired Lu Chang'an's teaching in accordance with his aptitude together with Zhou Shuling. You are quite good at teaching children. Zhou Shuling breathed a sigh of relief. She was worried because she felt that she might not remember the way to pick up Zhou Dongdong for a month. I have taken care of more children than you have ever seen. Lu Chang'an was not exaggerating. Zhou Shuling has heard a lot of words like this, such as those who said the old woman has eaten more salt than you have eaten when finding a partner for her. Most people actually can't come up with anything when they say this. What is the reason to convince the other party? Such words are actually very rogue. But Lu Chang'an's words gave people a different feeling. Zhou Shuling peeled the garlic while watching Lu Chang'an smile. Zhu Huntang observed for a while and felt that there should be no problem. The most important thing was that she felt that if she gossiped about Lu Chang'an and Zhou Shuling, she would be kicked away by Lu Chang'an. Lu Chang'an is so old, why is he so cruel? Zhu Huntang was puzzled. Shouldn't people like little girls more as they get older? Logically speaking, for such a cute fairy like him, Lu Chang'an should be obedient and look at him with a gentle and kind face. At this time, Zhu Huntang felt Lu Chang'an's gaze, and he glared at her. Sure enough, those were all illusions. Lu Chang'an's eyes looked like the sword of Zhu Xian. With Zhou Shuling's help, the chili beans, ginger, and garlic were all cut, and an appropriate amount of salt was added. They were stirred evenly in a large open vat and set aside. Lu Chang'an cooked another pot of wheat. The traditional method is to first make wheat paste, expose it to the sun, ferment, and then add chili peppers and other ingredients to stir. However, Lu Chang'an felt that this method was not delicious enough and had too much musty smell, so he improved it and made wheat paste and chili peppers. The ingredients are exposed to the sun at the same time, and then stirred in time. The sun can be dried earlier and the taste will be more spicy. In the afternoon, Lu Chang'an changed into his military training uniform and walked to the school. The afternoon military training had not started yet, so Lu Chang'an planned to go to the dormitory to rest for a while. The dormitory was empty, but a little messy. Lu Chang'an opened the window, swept the floor, put the stools in place, and tidied it up a little. At this time, the other three people came back. "We haven't arranged the dormitory duty schedule yet," Chin's Haiqiang said with a smile. "We made the mess, why are you the one to clean it up?" "I'm free." "What's going on here?" Lu Chang'an asked casually. When he came in, he found that his bed sheets, quilt covers and pillows had been changed, and there was also a set of toiletries, toothpaste, toothbrush, shampoo, and shower gel all packed in a toilet bowl. In the bag, there are also some books on the bookshelf in various fields. After a cursory look, there are hundreds of books. "We went to military training in the morning. When we came back at noon, the counselor was in our dormitory. She said that when you come, let us ask you if you have any shortcomings." Sun Shutong looked at Lu Chang'an. Having such a cousin made people feel uncomfortable. It's okay not to be envious. "Oh, thank you." Lu Chang'an sat down, took a book and sat on the bed to read. "Why didn't she ask you directly?" Chin's Haiqiang asked strangely. Wei Xuanyi glanced at Chin's Haiqiang and said nothing. Lu Chang'an smiled. "Maybe she thinks I'm taciturn, so you can take the initiative to find a topic to chat with me, so that I won't be like a boring gourd and you won't pay attention to me." Chin's Haiqiang said with a smile, "I don't think so. Just look at your cousin and the books she chose for you. I know that you must be a very good reader. You are knowledgeable and talented. You will definitely find many topics to talk about." Wei Xuanyi and Sun Shutong each sat back in their seats. Chin's Haiqiang stood under Lu Chang'an's bed, raising his head and chatting with Lu Chang'an about some things in the morning class. "Lu Chang'an, that Zhu Huntang has a good relationship with you." Seeing Chin's Haiqiang and Lu Chang'an chatting about each other, Wei Xuanyi felt a little irritated and couldn't help but ask. No one can help feeling aggrieved by what happened yesterday. Wei Xuanyi and Sun Shutong's expectations for college girls almost dropped to negative. They felt that the girls they met when they entered college were very different, not as innocent as in high school. "When I met girls in the past, I rejected them if they refused. If I didn't like them, I just didn't like them. If I had any problems, I would just tell them about it. How could Zhu Huntang be so pretentious and then tease and humiliate people like this? We are familiar with each other, but the relationship is not very good." Lu Chang'an thought for a while, and after positioning himself in this way, when he saw Zhu Huntang, he always felt like taking her back and putting her on the roof of Bailong Center to be quiet and not come to him again. It feels like this is definitely not a good relationship, right? Hearing what Lu Chang'an said, Wei Xuanyi and Sun Shutong felt that they had the same hatred and hatred. Sure enough, Zhu Huntang must have a bad record, and even those who were familiar with her could not have a good relationship. Thinking about it this way, Wei Xuanyi and Sun Shutong felt much more comfortable. Zhu Huntang wasn't targeting them specifically, right? That's just who she is. Is her family one of the richest people on the Forbes list? Sun Shutong asked. Why don't you ask her yourself? Lu Chang'an was not interested in gossiping about Zhu Huntang behind his back. I'm just curious. I feel like Zhu Huntang's style is not enough to watch ordinary billionaires. They basically belong to the image setting of the eye-catching young rich people in idol dramas. They are probably the high-end tiny times that can be installed to the 13th power. A feeling of Zhu Huntang looks particularly good-looking in white stockings, but I think people like her are really just like our counselors. Most people who want to chase her are as dreamy as the girl in the game who runs out to live with others. Chin's Haikyung shaking his head, who said that the dead house is immersed in a fantasy world. In fact, I just know that reality cannot satisfy me, and I am unwilling to give up my dream image of a girl. If you had said this earlier yesterday. Wei Xuanyi felt that what Chin's Haikyung said was very reasonable, but he still swallowed the rest of his words alertly. Chin's Haikyung suddenly backed down yesterday. Is this the reason? But he actually considered whether he could catch Zhu Huntang? Sun Shutong glanced at Chin's Haikyung with some contempt. He also admitted that Chin's Haikyung was right. In fact, when boys approach girls now, if it is not to pursue her, is it to be friends with her? Today's girls are becoming less and less able to share common hobbies, topics, and get along as friends with boys, and have many interests. Even if they play a game, they will die like the king of hell who keeps urging him to die. You can't criticize her, but you have to keep criticizing the other side and your teammates, and you have to help her. However, there are still some girls who have connotation and depth, know how to respect each other, and do not have so many demands on boys in life and work, but these are always a relatively small number. Lu Chang'an didn't care whether they pursued Zhu Huntang or not, and he certainly didn't care what kind of blow or spiritual growth they would receive if they approached Zhu Huntang. Friends who are not interested in reading can check out the new work My Girlfriend is a Wicked Girl by Undersea Walker, a daily series of living together, which should be interesting. You are listening to Novels at Bless Up channel. Wish you happiness and luck. Please subscribe to receive new novels. How do you feel about this novel? Please like and leave a comment. I'm really immortal. Author, Chu Lian Kui Kan Ru Xiahua. Chapter 287. After chatting in the dormitory for a while, Lu Chang'an received a message from Qin Yanan, reminding him of the location and time of the afternoon military training, and also sent him a hand-drawn map from the dormitory to the military training location. Lu Chang'an replied thank you and couldn't help but smile. He had done something similar for someone back then. Today is a sunny day. Since the rainy day of Chinese Valentine's Day, it seems that the coolness and rain after autumn have been wiped away by the sweat of the cowherd and the weaver girl, leaving only the anger of the Queen Mother. It sprayed vigorously on the county sand. This is a good day for making hot sauce, and it is also a good day for military training. If there is no sweat on the back, there will be no deep memories and a faint thought of the past when facing the new student's hard and tiring posture. After the lunch break is the hottest time, but military training cannot be postponed until the temperature drops a little further. Groups of green people from the men's dormitory and the women's dormitory lazily flowed out and gathered in major squares, gymnasiums, and playgrounds. It was impossible for the School of Biology to compete with the large courtyards of the School of Civil Engineering for large venues. Small courtyards naturally occupy small places. The retired teachers' sports center is a place where croquet is played, and it is also a place where old teachers dance in the evening. On a university campus, it is impossible for these old teachers who have educated students all their lives to compete with military training students for space. Even if the weather is not so hot, they will not come to grab it. Some bad guys are getting older, and some people will still insist on carrying forward their style when they are old. Last night and this morning when Lu Chang'an was away, the class had formed a preliminary leadership team. 2 temporary leaders of military training, 1 male and 1 female. Judging from their conversation and temperament, you can tell that they had also trained in high school and were actively participating in military training. To prepare for the subsequent selection of formal class cadres. The girl is the only girl who is taller than Zhu Huntang. Her natural appearance cannot be compared with Zhu Huntang, but as a young girl, she is not ugly, has fair skin and a tall figure, which is enough to attract attention. When Wei Xuanyi said her name was Yan Qingcheng, it sounded a bit sour and green, but her words and deeds were generous. Another temporary person in charge of military training is Lin Feng from the dormitory next door. He is a little taller than Wei Xuanyi. He is a strong type. He looks quite thin. His sleeves are rolled up to his shoulders. There are obvious muscles on his arms. Wei Xuanyi as some kind of potential competitor, in short, it is the feeling of wanting to compete. The licking dog is already in action, Qin's Haiqiang said to Lu Chang'an after observing secretly. Lu Chang'an laughed. There were more girls in the class than originally said. In fact, there were exactly 10. The ratio was still exaggerated. What Qin's Haiqiang was talking about was that the girls were standing under the shade of the trees, with a few boys helping them. The mineral water was brought to them and the boys were doing the cleaning. There are not many good-looking ones, but Yan Qingning is really tall, Sun Shutong sighed, and glanced at Lu Chang'an again, and did not say anything about his ambition. In terms of height, there are not many girlfriends in Hunan University who can match Lu Chang'an's. Comparable, after all, Hunan University is not a film, television, drama, and model school. The average height of children of this generation is much higher than that of 20 years ago. In fact, it is not noticeable on average, but compared with the boys who are over 1.8 meters tall, there might only be 1 or 2 very tall boys in a class 20 years ago. It was conspicuous, but now it is much more sparse and common. Lu Chang'an was very pleased with the current situation for those people in his memory. Children 100 years ago were really skinny, and the severity of their health was difficult for people today to realize. Shocking. I wish I could grow 5 centimeters taller, Wei Xuanyi said with some regret. He contracted some common diseases during his teenage years, which would affect his height. The instructor has not arrived yet, and the students are standing together in small groups, chatting in groups of 3, and 4. They are basically in a small circle of people from one dormitory to another, and they have not yet integrated into a class feeling. You are Lu Chang'an, right? Lin Feng held a black iPad in his left hand and a stylus in his right hand. While tapping the screen, he walked over and said to Lu Chang'an. Lu Chang'an nodded. Remember your absence. Lin Feng clicked on the screen very smoothly, wrote Lu Chang'an's name and turned around to leave. Wei Xuanyi was a little gloating. We didn't tell anyone, so others didn't even know that the instructor was your cousin. He was not only happy that Lu Chang'an was humiliated, but also happy that Lin Feng had provoked such a tough guy like Lu Chang'an. Lu Chang'an didn't care about this and praised, this classmate handled the matter impartially and is good at using electronic office work. He has a great future. Wei Xuanyi and Sun Shutong both looked at him in confusion. Qin's Haiqiang said angrily, look at what he can do. He looks like a leader now. You are right. This style of work is not as close to the people as it is not suitable for grassroots services, nor is it suitable for leadership work. Lu Chang'an also agreed with Qin's Haiqiang's view. Sun Shutong sneered, I wonder if he recorded Zhu Huntang's absence. What's the use of recording Zhu Huntang's absence? He also knows it's useless, so he won't remember it, Wei Xuanyi said with certainty. Maybe he still wants to chase Zhu Huntang, Qin's Haiqiang said, he has a lot of tricks up his sleeve. Wei Xuanyi and Sun Shutong felt inexplicably worried. If Lin Feng could successfully approach Zhu Huntang, it would mean that their self-esteem would be hit again. Thinking about whether it would be better for a girl who is not his girlfriend to have a close relationship with another boy, this man's thoughts are also strange. When the instructor arrived, the military training leaders of each class began to gather, count the number of people, and then report to the instructor. The instructor in Lu Chang'an's class is named Chen Sichen. He is a few years older than his classmates and has some acne on his face. However, as someone who has been a soldier for several years, his temperament and masculine feeling are incomparable to ordinary college students. You asked for leave this morning, right? Chen Sichen noticed at a glance that Lu Chang'an had not come this morning. Yes. Even if you ask for leave, you should go and stand in military posture for half an hour. Can you stand in military posture? Chen Sichen said. Meeting. Lu Chang'an ran away neatly and stood under the shade of a tree. Chen Sichen opened his mouth. This student obeyed so neatly that Chen Sichen was a little embarrassed to assign him to stand under the sun. The remaining students stood under the sun, sweating after only standing for 2 or 3 minutes. They couldn't help but envy Lu Chang'an, who stood up with a military posture. At this time, Qin Yinan rushed over and stood beside Lu Chang'an. "What are you doing here?" Lu Chang'an asked. "Let me see you." "What are you doing standing here?" Qin Yinan asked strangely. "I'm standing in a military posture, can't you see?" Qin Yinan really didn't expect it, and pointed to the instructor in the distance in surprise. "I told Instructor Chen that you asked for leave. Whether it is for leave or for any reason, it is natural to delay training and be punished by standing in military posture. Military training is not a child's play, everyone must obey orders," Lu Chang'an said calmly. "You go, don't disturb me from standing in military posture." Qin Yinan smiled. In fact, she had always been worried about others provoking Lu Chang'an, but she almost forgot that he was not only her great-grandfather's eldest brother, but also his comrade in arms. Naturally, he was the same as those who were arrogant and could not bear any grievance or control. It's different for students like Dai. He can take time off to make hot sauce, but now that he's here, he'll take it seriously. She herself was too cautious and always felt that she should take good care of him. In fact, how could a person like him care about such a thing? She remembered that Lu Chang'an always liked to reason in the past. He would probably be reasonable as long as something made sense. Qin Yinan walked around, looked at the situation, and left. Chen Sichen watched Qin Yinan and Lu Chang'an talking, thinking that Qin Yinan had said hello specially, and it would be a shame to have Lu Chang'an stand there for too long, so he asked Lu Chang'an to return to the team. Qin Yinan's arrival caused some commotion. After all, the instructors were all young men about the same age as Qin Yinan. They were full of blood. A stunning figure like Qin Yinan would always attract attention. Not to mention the instructors, there were also many students in other classes. The few who turned their heads to look around couldn't help but envy the counselor in the next class for being so moving. "Today we are doing basic platoon training, including standing in a military posture, standing at attention, squatting, standing up, walking forward, etc. For example, in some academies with a large number of people, military training is conducted in platoon units, while in biology colleges, it is conducted in class square formations. After training for a while, there is a break, but it is not a break, but a traditional project of singing songs. The instructors may not be born with good voices, but they have been trained in the army to sing military songs and red songs, and they may not have much skill or momentum. But it is incomparable to many lingering and sad singers. I usually listen to many popular songs and think nothing of it, but the impact when these soldiers sing military songs and red songs with loud voices makes people think of the feeling of a red sun tearing through the clouds, the sunshine shining down, and all the ghosts and monsters disappearing into thin air. Many songs, especially those in the ancient music circle, are written with strong emotions and a sad and far-sighted feeling, but when sung by those voices, it always smells like a capon crowing. After singing for a while, training for a while, and finally taking a break, the girls drank water and ran to the bathroom together. Because men's physiological structure is more in line with the superior standards of natural evolution, they are naturally more tolerant. After drinking the water, they sat in the shade of the tree in twos and threes. Lu Chang'an and Qin's Haiqiang were still sitting together, and Qin's Haiqiang praised Lu Chang'an for his wit. "Lu Chang'an, I have erased your absence," Lin Feng came over and said to Lu Chang'an. Seeing that Lu Chang'an had no reaction, he walked away expressionlessly. "I feel a little bad. People like this usually get what they want and become class codders in the end." Wei Xuanyi looked around at the others and made eye contact. "Isn't that right? You have also met such people." "Well, obviously no one likes him, but he managed to get to the top." Sun Shutong nodded with deep sympathy. Qin's Haiqiang also nodded. The three people's eyes were focused on Lu Chang'an. What are you looking at me for? We were not familiar with each other, and Lu Chang'an felt it was inappropriate to look at him together. Lu Chang'an, you should be the squad leader. You have to tell the counselor about this, Qin's Haiqiang said. Wei Xuanyi and Sun Shutong agreed very much. Although they didn't have a particular fondness for Lu Chang'an, they were roommates after all, which was better than Lin Feng. Inappropriate Lu Chang'an was not interested at all. He is not your opponent at all. The appointment of university class cadres is a matter of just one word from the counselor, Wei Xuanyi continued to encourage. That's right, do you want this person who didn't give you face on the first day to be the squad leader? Sun Shutong looked very sorry for Lu Chang'an. Lu Chang'an smiled. Lu Chang'an, do you want to be the monitor? Qin's Haiqiang and the others raised their heads. It turned out that Lin Feng had stood behind them at some point and heard all their conversation. Wei Xuanyi turned around and said nothing. Sun Shutong laughed, but Qin's Haiqiang shook his head. He didn't say he wanted to be elected, but when it comes to voting in the election, we will vote for Lu Chang'an. Wei Xuanyi and Sun Shutong did not respond to Qin's Haiqiang's intention. Lu Chang'an turned his head and glanced at Lin Feng. I didn't say I wanted to be the one. You can be the one you want, we compete fairly. Lin Feng smiled slightly. I don't want to be the one, but I think you are not suitable either. I will support Yan Qingcheng. Lu Chang'an also smiled. Lin Feng then turned to look at Yan Qingcheng, who was with several girls. In fact, he did not regard Yan Qingcheng as a competitor. Although there were two military training leaders, there was only one squad leader. Yan Qingcheng was a girl after all. He has the advantage of being close to the public when canvassing for votes from boys. Yan Qingcheng managed to get 10 votes from girls. How many votes can she get from boys here? Whatever you want. Lin Feng looked at the iPad and walked to the instructor to talk. I'm really immortal. Author, Chulian Kui Kan Ru Xiahua. Chapter 288. As the last stop before entering society, some people are anxious and confused in anticipation, some are complacent, some decide to be a different version of themselves, and some wait to die. The appearance of sentient beings in the university is also very interesting. People like Lin Feng can't be said to be very wealthy or shrewd and mature. It's just that this kind of person has a set of obvious self-interest principles, and he believes that his own set of principles is superior and can guide him to success. The world is actually full of people like Lin Feng. If they don't succeed with their own methods, then after they reach middle age, they often become cynical and think that the world is wrong. The main thing is that the world is wrong. The country where I was born will spare no effort to prove how sad it is that I was born in this country, and yearn for what kind of pinnacle of life it would be if I were in another country. Whether you are in high school or college, it is actually rare to see a monster like an old fox, or a scheming person. It just directly reveals that he likes to play tricks and is too thoughtful, which makes people disgusted. After Lu Chang'an had an initial impression of Lin Feng, he no longer cared about him. When he said that he supported Yan Qingcheng, it was just a casual talk. It was not that he knew Yan Qingcheng well or had any deep reasons. Of course, since I have said I support it, I really do support it. Running for squad leader is something that happens after military training. In fact, basically the two positions of class leader and league secretary are temporary responsibilities held during military training. They can best be recognized and familiar with by classmates, and at the same time, they have contact with counselors and departments. There are quite a few, but it is not uncommon for capable dark horses to emerge. After Qin Yan'an came to visit, Yu Zhen also came. The arrangement in the courtyard was that Qin Yan'an and Yu Zhen were in charge of this class of freshmen, but in fact Qin Yan'an was only in charge of Lu Chang'an's class, and Yu Zhen was actually in charge of other classes. Counselor. After Yu Zhen walked around for a while, he came to Lu Chang'an's class to learn about the situation and to learn about the situation with Lin Feng. Lu Chang'an asked for leave this morning, Yu Zhen asked. In fact, he didn't want to know anything. He just expressed that he was paying attention to Lu Chang'an. It's not that Lu Chang'an has anything extraordinary, it's just that Lu Chang'an has a cousin who is very considerate of him. Yu Zhen thinks that doing this can be regarded as catering to Qin Yinan. Qin Yinan may not know such details, but it is also Yu Zhen's intention. It's not counted as absence from work, Lin Feng said quickly. Oh, you can figure it out yourself, Yu Zhen nodded. He couldn't say anything for Lu Chang'an. Yu Zhen went to talk to Lu Chang'an for a few words and then left. He knew that many sisters doted on their younger brothers. Worried about his younger brother's tuition, work, marrying a wife, and buying a house, but Qin Yinan is a cousin, and it is rare for these cousins to be so considerate. Today, I saw Qin Yinan moving a lot of things to Lu Chang'an's dormitory, and Lu Chang'an obviously don't live in the dormitory. Lin Feng looked back at Lu Chang'an again. This feeling was uncomfortable. As the candidate for class president who most wanted to show off in front of the counselors, he found that the two counselors in the same grade were paying special attention to another person. But it doesn't matter, who doesn't have something to do with it. Lin Feng naturally has acquaintances who will take care of him. During the break, many people took out the soles of their shoes, their armpits, and even the sanitary napkins attached to their crotches, and then threw them into the trash can. There were quite a few people who used them, but everyone was laughing and joking, but they looked calm. Lu Chang'an took a look and realized that this was really something he was accustomed to. In the dormitory, Lu Chang'an and Wei Xuanyi didn't use it, but Sun Shutong and Qin's Haiqiang both used it. Wei Xuanyi likes sports, and he is used to sweating. Sun Shutong used the night type, as if he couldn't absorb the excessive sweat. Qin's Haiqiang is a fat man and sweats a lot. During the next break, the instructor did not dismiss the group and stopped playing songs. He suggested that everyone perform a show. Is there anyone dancing? Chen Sichen looked at the girls with a smile. A comrade in the next courtyard told me that a girl in their platoon danced Pure Land of Paradise and Love Song of Peach Blossoms in the morning, and the morale of the entire platoon was high. The instructor is also young, and it is very common for someone in their 20s to pay attention to these things. However, the students still find it surprising, but the instructor's affinity has skyrocketed. This kind of wearing a serious uniform and talking about otaku anime culture is somewhat contrasting. The girls laughed, and many people didn't know what Pure Land and Peach Blossom Love Song were, but after a discussion, they understood: house dance. Everyone's impression of house dancing is basically that girls wearing all kinds of cute costumes dance cute dances. Does it look good dancing in military training uniform? Who can see it without bias eye? That's also delicious. You can adjust the flavor. Do we have any in our department? I have a classmate from their phalanx, and I heard that girl is a very famous dancer. Unfortunately, there seems to be no such character in this class. After a while, Chen Sichen finished looking around, and Yan Qingcheng stood up, looking a little desperate. Let me perform a square dance for everyone. After bursts of laughter and warm applause, Chen Sichen nodded. Yan Qingcheng took out his mobile phone and put it in front of him. He looked at the classmates, laughed first, then waved his hand. Forget it, it's so embarrassing. No, it's all agreed upon. Dance, dance, show off your momentum as a square dancing queen. Adjust the taste. This is not okay. If you lose character, you must stand in a military position. Chen Sichen gave the order, jump. Yan Qingcheng helplessly raised her hand to cover her lips and smiled, then straightened her expression and said, then don't laugh. This seemed impossible. The music Yan Qingcheng clicked was not an ordinary square dance. As soon as the first line came out, there was a burst of laughter and applause. Wenzhou, Zhejiang, Jiangnan leather factory has closed down. Yan Qingcheng danced on her own without expression. Jiangnan Leather Factory, the largest tannery factory in Wenzhou, Zhejiang Province, has closed down. The bastard, Huang He, the boss, ate, drank, hoard, gambled, ate, drank, hoard, and bet, he owed 350 million. He ran away with his sister-in-law. We have no choice but to use our wallets to pay wages. The original prices are more than 100, 200, and 300. The wallets are all 20 yuan, 20 yuan, 20 yuan, all 20 yuan. The girls were already laughing so hard that they were falling forward and backward. The male students applauded even more enthusiastically. Yan Qingcheng did not smile, but just danced with exaggerated movements with an expressionless face. It can be seen that Yan Qingcheng still has some dancing skills, and her movements are smooth and can be adjusted freely. She did not learn to be funny temporarily. After just 2 minutes of dancing, Yan Qingcheng bowed, then returned to her seat with her cell phone and her face covered with her head down. The students in the next class were all attracted and there was a burst of applause. Okay, not bad. Chen Sichen took the lead in applauding again. I think it's much more interesting than house dancing, what do you think? Right. Someone just recorded a video, remember to upload it to the class group, Chen Sichen reminded. Don't. Yan Qingcheng covered her face and pressed it on her knees. This dance was indeed a bit embarrassing. She quickly stated, I'm not original. I learned Wai Wei's dance. Don't pass it on. But no one listened to her, and the classmates who had enough traffic control had already started uploading. Is there anyone else who wants to perform? Chen Sichen said again in a warm atmosphere. I come. Everyone turned their heads, only to find that it was Lin Feng who seemed to have been gearing up for a long time. Lin Feng stood up. He could see that Yan Qingcheng's performance, although it was an ugly and shameful performance, was actually quite effective and increased her popularity a lot, even in a class with a small number of girls. In school, there are many inconveniences for girls to be class presidents, but that doesn't mean they really have a huge natural disadvantage. I didn't expect that Yan Qingcheng, who looked so calm, would actually do such a performance just to make her look down on being the class president. Sure enough, there were a lot of scheming bitches in the university, and one of them was accidentally overtaken by her. What do you want to perform? Chen Sichen asked. Let's perform Sanda, Lin Feng said. Chen Sichen looked at Lin Feng with interest. That requires personal cooperation. Can I spar with you? That won't work, I'm no match. Lin Feng waved his hand modestly. Then you are just playing it by yourself. I can also find a classmate and let him attack me, and I will counterattack. I can also teach the classmates some simple self-defense methods, which are especially practical for girls. Of course Lin Feng has to interact with his classmates, otherwise he will be here. How can these students, who have no relevant knowledge at all, understand his technical content and wonderful features while he keeps throwing a set of punches? It is better to use this teaching method to first establish a superior psychological position for Lin Feng as the professor. That's good. We were also going to teach some basic self-defense techniques. This is part of the military training next week. Chen Sichen nodded. Which student will cooperate? Everyone in his dormitory already knows that Lin Feng has practiced. Looking at his strong muscles and warm-up movements, you can tell that he has not simply improved his physical fitness through physical exercise. Wei Xuanyi feels that he is about as strong as Lin Feng, but his reaction ability and physical coordination are good on the basketball court, but it is different to fight against Lin Feng. Mi Luchang'an slowly raised his hand. When he saw the girl looking over, Yan Qingcheng was paying attention to him. Luchang'an showed his teeth and smiled. Yan Qingcheng felt strange, and together with other female classmates, they turned to look at the instructor. Chen Sichen nodded in approval. Luchang'an walked out. Lin Feng looked at Luchang'an with a slight smile. He felt unhappy with Lu Chang'an. It seemed that Lu Chang'an also had some opinions on him. I guess Lu Chang'an also had some basic skills, but Lu Chang'an's body lines were just like those of ordinary young people. He looked like a very ordinary person. He just has a slender and tall figure, and does not have very strong explosive power. Qin's Haiqiang took the lead in applauding, and the others also responded positively. Sparring is certainly much more exciting than boxing alone. People nowadays are no longer as energetic as before. Firstly, it is due to the influence of certain social and legal consciousness. Secondly, fighting now is really a very costly thing. People are under various pressures and responsibilities, and they are irrational. The consequences of a man's anger are unbearable. That's not to say there isn't any, it's just compared to before. Especially for children in the ivory tower, there are even fewer scenes of physical fistfights in reality. In fact, boys always have a bit of fighting spirit between males. If they don't end up, they will look at others. It's also quite exciting to do it. How long have you been practicing? Lin Feng planned to evaluate Lu Chang'an's ability to withstand blows. Otherwise, if he didn't grasp the severity of his attack and something went wrong, it would be more than worth the loss. It's been a long time, I forgot. Lin Feng smiled. He didn't know what Lu Chang'an's ideals were. This answer was most likely because he had never practiced at all. Didn't he come here to beat him? Although Lin Feng would not beat Lu Chang'an severely in public, but if he threw him over his shoulder, no one else could say anything, right? Let's begin. Chen Sichen clapped. The classmates also clapped and looked forward to the fight between the two. Everyone could see that Lu Chang'an's lazy look was completely different from Lin Feng's feelings as a domestic practitioner. A few girls were thinking that self-defense skills are generally used for self-defense. Those are just those perverts. Why do people like Lu Chang'an need to be perverts? Lu Chang'an walked over and reached out to touch Lin Feng's shoulder. This action is really coordinated. The corner of Lin Feng's mouth slightly curled up. He turned around and pushed his right foot forward to push the inside of Lu Chang'an's right foot. He turned his left foot close to Lu Chang'an, straightened his knees, bent his upper body forward, and let out a shout. Gave Lu Chang'an a backup shot. Logically speaking, Lu Chang'an should have been thrown over by him at this time, and then there were exclamations and applause. Lin Feng was a little surprised at the silence around him. He didn't seem to hear any sound in his ears. Lu Chang'an behind him was not moving at all. Ouch! Lin Feng tried again. Ouch! Lin Feng blushed and tried for the third time. Ouch! Lin Feng was grabbed by the waistband of his pants and lifted up by Lu Chang'an, and then placed in front of the classmates sitting on the ground. Puff! What kind of performance is this? What are you two doing? How about self-defense? If there was a bed in front of here, I would be put on it. These words were a bit harsh. Lin Feng could not see or hear them clearly. He only felt that his blood was rising and he was extremely humiliated. Lin Feng's face was pressed against the ground, dust blowing into his face. When Lu Chang'an let go of his hand, he hurriedly climbed up. He looked in disbelief at Lu Chang'an, who had grabbed him and laid him flat on the ground. Lu Chang'an had just grabbed his body and was unable to move. Couldn't even struggle. How did he do it? Other students thought it was the same funny performance as Yan Qingcheng, especially Lin Feng's several attempts at piggyback throwing. Lin Feng blushed, but Lu Chang'an remained motionless. You are awesome. Chen Sichen looked at Lu Chang'an. The other students just thought they were joking, but Chen Sichen could see that Lu Chang'an's level was not comparable to Lin Feng's. Excellent. Lu Chang'an looked at his classmates. Obviously, Lin Feng's self-defense skills are of no use. Everyone should learn square dancing from Yan Qingcheng. It can strengthen the body and benefit the body and mind. After saying that, Lu Chang'an made an okay gesture towards Yan Qingcheng. Okay, the support is in place. As for going to Qin Yinan's place to go through the back door, Lu Chang'an had no intention of going through the back door. It would be enough to lift one up and step on the other. You still have to learn self-defense in the future, Chen Sichen said seriously, but it was clear that Lu Chang'an was helping Yan Qingcheng gain popularity. Chen Sichen also understood the intrigue among these students and didn't bother to care. He clapped his hands. Get up, rest is over. Lin Feng got up, with a bit of gray on his cheeks. The blood on his face faded as the heaving chest calmed down. He glanced at Lu Chang'an expressionlessly. Lu Chang'an probably had some relationship with Yan Qingcheng in private. Otherwise, how could it be possible? Helping Yan Qingcheng like this? Lin Feng is not blind, he can see the purpose of Lu Chang'an's last words. The queue went from short to high. Yan Qingcheng was right next to the row of girls. Lu Chang'an was in the same row as her. Yan Qingcheng looked back at Lu Chang'an. This time Lu Chang'an smiled at her without showing his teeth. His expression was as calm as usual. His eyes were always bright or had a different meaning that made it difficult to look at him. Yan Qingcheng turned her head, doubtful in her heart. It could be seen that Lu Chang'an might not get along with Lin Feng, but in the end he specifically mentioned Yan Qingcheng. Qingcheng obviously shifted everyone's attention to Yan Qingcheng again. Don't you know him? The afternoon military training ended with cheers. After the boys and girls had dispersed, they hurried back to their dormitories to take showers and change clothes. Everyone still had smelly sanitary napkins to throw away. Yan Qingcheng glanced at Lu Chang'an from a distance, thought for a while, and did not go to talk to him. Anyway, she had his number, so she might as well add her as a friend first, so Yan Qingcheng found Lu Chang'an's number in the class group and added it. My friend, his QQ is easy to identify, and his nickname is Kaios Hu Wind and Thunder Swordsman Lu Chang'an. Lu Chang'an was walking to An Nuan's house because An Nuan said that he would have evening self-study with him tonight. As an extremely important self-study in college life, An Nuan felt that the first self-study should be with Lu Chang'an. Why do we have to do this together? Can't one study by himself? Well, such questions are meaningless. He won't oppose her anyway. She will do whatever she says. Lu Chang'an has always been easygoing and accommodating. Lu Chang'an pulled up his mobile phone and looked at tomorrow's weather. In fact, weather forecasts are much more reliable than his own divination. Many times, weather forecasts based on experience and observation are not so reliable. The weather is ever-changing, and even the world's top divination, the weather prediction tasks undertaken by most computers are only for reference, not to mention that one can be 100% sure of the weather in the next few days just by looking at dragonflies, birds, snakes, insects, rats, and ants. It doesn't make sense. Seeing the weather, he was not concerned about military training, but about his hot sauce. He called Zhou Shuling and asked her to help him put away the hot sauce he dried after the sun went down. Zhou Dongdong can eat this if he likes it. It's spicy. Her tongue was swollen, and Lu Chang'an couldn't believe how much she could eat. When he came to the asphalt road where Lu Chang'an squatted last time, he saw the small blue sign of the bus stop. Lu Chang'an stood there and waited for 3 minutes before a tall and beautiful girl came over. Sure enough, any beautiful woman wearing a military training uniform will look ordinary, Lu Chang'an said with a smile. You said I'm equal, and Nuan hit Lu Chang'an and acted like a spoiled child angrily. You make me angry as soon as we meet. I'm talking about your overall image, Lu Chang'an corrected her. Now she is not only average, but also ordinary. You're talking nonsense. And Nuan's hair had been loosened and spread down. She combed her hair with her fingers, and the smile on her face was very confident. You can say that Gu Tianel is ordinary, but you want to say that this person is ordinary. The girl's appearance and temperament are mediocre, and this is the most nonsense you, Lu Chang'an, have ever done in your life. The time when I lied the most was when you asked me whether I had ever been in love during my 3 years in high school, and whether I felt regretful. Lu Chang'an smiled and touched An Nuan's soft and delicate cheek. Actually, the feeling when we got along was more than ambiguous, not yet in love, but we didn't regret it. Hate. You always say things that make me like you. An Nuan hugged Lu Chang'an's arm, with a slightly astringent and sweet peach halo on her cheeks, and stood on tiptoe eagerly. The leaves were whirling, the wind was ruffling her hair, and the girl's heart was fluttering, wanting to fall into his palm. This feeling made her eyelashes tremble slightly, and her bright eyes shone with shy light as if they were filled with stars. I've got a needle's eye. I've got a needle's eye. I'm so ashamed of myself. Please save some face for me. Tomorrow there will be news in school that Lu Yuwang's daughter kissed someone on the street. Lu Yuwang came out of nowhere, holding a lesson plan in his hand, and violently separated Lu Chang'an and An Nuan. Mom. Oops. What else is there in your lesson plan? It hurts me to death. An Nuan was so embarrassed that she hid in a panic. Lu Chang'an raised his hand to stop Lu Yuwang. Lu Yuwang glanced at Lu Chang'an, who was still smiling. This guy is really thick-skinned. Also, how can he be good at chasing girls if he is not thick-skinned? It's very quiet here, the environment is very good, there are few pedestrians on the road, and passion is inevitable in nature. Lu Chang'an explained and apologized at the same time. Next time we will be in a place without people. What did you say? Mother and daughter said in unison, but An Nuan was shy and angry, while Lu Yuwang frowned angrily. Next time we will be more affectionate and less polite. That's pretty much it? It's disgusting. Mom, where did you get out of here? Drill, do you think I'm a mouse? Oh, you hit me again, that's all I'm saying. What's in your lesson plan? Hitting someone hurts so much. It's up to you. Bickering between mother and daughter seems to be a daily routine. Lu Yuwang is undoubtedly the first time he has seen his daughter have close contact with the opposite sex as an adult. For parents, it always feels a bit strange and a little emotional, but he is not really disgusted. After all, the relationship between the two people has been approved. How could a kiss not happen? Hey, I don't know if she has listened to the previous safety education knowledge. If you vote monthly, you will get the treatment of Zhou Dongdong, BAG, Zhou Dongdong. The traffic was too heavy today, and I wasted too much time on the road. I don't have to rush tomorrow, so I can code with peace of mind. I won't say much more. Originally, I was trying to do more things, but in the end, I did more things than usual. On the contrary, it makes people feel that I have not done enough. I'm a little depressed, but there's no other way. If I don't set a goal, I'll just update it as it happens. If I say a number, I'll at least try to get as close to it as possible. Let's take on the challenge and continue to challenge ourselves tomorrow. I'm really immortal. Author, Chulian Kui Kan Ru Xiahua. Chapter 289. Lu Yuwang and An Nuan walked on the asphalt road covered with shades of trees. The trees were extremely tall and thick, forming a contrasting beauty with the slender woman. There were naturally no high-rise buildings on both sides, but the 2- or 3-story peaks, or there are various small shops in the small flat-roofed buildings. The consumption is not high and the environment is quiet and easygoing. The tea houses, coffee shops, and other places with a strong petty bourgeoisie flavor in the college campus are always more bookish than similar shops in the business district. There are not so many realistic topics and faces. Lu Yuwang was wearing a black dress with a light gray belt around her waist. There were also gray edges around her chest, which spread out naturally. The 36-year-old woman had just accumulated enough connotation and knowledge to allow her to even occasionally taking the sexy route doesn't mean you have a shallow temperament. That intellectual and professional charm can always suppress the charm that men pay most attention to. Lu Chang'an will also admit that Lu Yuwang is a major, of course it is only her own major. Like most people, Lu Chang'an said, Lu Yuang is only excellent in her own major and is so-so in other aspects. And Nuan is wearing a military training uniform with a clear student logo. The girl's delicacy is the same as that in high school. Only when the two clothes are very different, Lu Yuang's maturity and Nuan's astringency will make the biggest difference. In comparison, I feel that there may be a generation gap. Unlike when the mother and daughter are both wearing cheongsam, it makes people think that sisters are more likely. And Nuan turned back and glanced at Lu Chang'an. She asked Lu Chang'an what topics she had talked about with Nuan recently. Lu Chang'an told her that they mainly talked about the views of controversial figures in the field of modern literature. And Nuan sometimes feels a little jealous, but more often than not, she understands. It is rare for her mother to have netizens who just chat with her. Lu Chang'an's erudition makes Nuan try to read more, trying to be able to understand when he talks nonsense. It will also be very difficult to keep up with him. It was ridiculous to really think that Lu Yuang and Lu Chang'an would develop an online relationship. There were too many beautiful women around Lu Chang'an. If he deliberately cheated on her, Nuan felt that she had no choice but to control it. Just like Lu Chang'an said fiercely that he hoped she would tell the boy who came after her that he would die, but in fact Lu Chang'an never interfered with Nuan's interpersonal relationships. Therefore, Nuan felt that since the basis of love is mutual respect, she would not. Will he really ask Lu Chang'an to delete the numbers of girls and women he knows? Many girls will really do this, and many boys may really compromise. But it feels so stupid. Even though he was so stupid, Nuan still felt a little jealous. If Lu Chang'an took the initiative to delete Bai Fen, this would be an extremely happy thing, and she could even reward him. After college life began, Nuan felt that there was no essential difference from high school. Learning was the most important. Many people's life and activities that they longed for or expected in college had no practical significance, but many people would be more enthusiastic about it. Express yourself, such as white anise. The video of Bai Hui dancing at home during today's military training was circulated on many Weibo accounts and groups in the school. Some seniors and people from the student union even approached Nuan to inquire about Bai Hui's situation. Nuan doesn't like to leak other people's information behind their backs. Of course, Bai Hui won't tell her birthday, height, measurements, and place of origin. But when people ask Bai Hui if she has a boyfriend, Nuan will still answer yes honestly. After all, someone else made a special trip. Let me ask, it would be quite offensive if you didn't say anything, not to mention that compared to other things, whether you have a boyfriend or not is not a private matter, right? Just ask around and you will know. Back home, Professor Ling's family across the street is still in Shanghai and has not returned. After all, there are not many opportunities for the family to travel together. Shanghai is a city that has enough fun places and delicious food as long as you bring enough money. Of top restaurants. In fact, most of the top restaurants are not just selling a sense of ritual. If you really want to eat well and experience the temptation of delicious food, you have to go to the food stalls. This is just a talk and a listen, but it should not be taken seriously. Of course, people in Shonan are a little different. Wherever they go, they will always say that the food here is not tasty enough. Lu Yuang opened the door and bent down to take off her shoes. She was wearing a pair of black stockings today. The heels and toes were not pushed up to reveal the flesh color. They still had a fine and round texture. After she changed her shoes, reached out to unbuckle his belt out of habit, and quickly put it down. He and Nuan were not the only ones at home today. You guys go take a shower. I'll leave the kitchen to me. Lu Chang'an took the initiative to take over. Lu Yuang's cooking skills were not as good looking as her face. Not to mention Nuan can actually cook, but the basic standard of living is that the stubborn grass only needs sunlight, moisture, and soil, and taste is out of the question. I want to learn how to cook from you. Nuan followed Lu Chang'an coquettishly. She was naturally happy to have a boyfriend who knew how to cook. Lu Yuwang pulled En Nuan back and said, "It stinks like hell, go take a shower, don't be sticky." "Why do I stink?" En Nuan was unwilling. Lu Chang'an actually said that she stunk when she was still at home. Beautiful girl's sweat smells good. Lu Chang'an looked back at En Nuan and smiled. Lu Yuwang said to Lu Chang'an, "Don't cut the cucumbers in the refrigerator for me." Ever since Lu Yuwang bought the cucumber cutting machine, he has been particularly keen on using cucumbers on his face. The most important thing is that the process of cutting into transparent slices gives Lu Yuwang a sense of accomplishment. As for Lu Chang'an taking over the kitchen, Lu Yuwang had no objection. He had tasted Lu Chang'an's cooking skills last time, and it was a delicious food that would make people give up their reserve and politeness. I know. Lu Chang'an walked into the kitchen. En Nuan hadn't taken a shower yet, and she was a little unhappy. Normally, it didn't matter what the two of them said at home, but Lu Chang'an was here today. En Nuan Day reminded her that she didn't really want to say what she wanted to say, but the more she thought about it, the more awkward she became. If she said it, she would probably get a beating now. "What do you mean?" Lu Yuwang was stunned for a moment. Lu Yuwang thought about it carefully and suddenly his face turned red with anger. He picked up the lesson plan that was left on the coffee table and knocked it down with all his might. En Nuan screamed and ran into the bathroom, but was still hit by Lu Yuwang several times, but En Nuan felt that such a reminder was necessary. Lu Yuwang stood outside the bathroom angrily and banged on the door. Of course En Nuan would not open the door. Lu Yuwang threatened, "Just wait. When you come out, watch me swell your butt, I'll go find a bamboo stick come." Lu Chang'an turned a deaf ear to the fight between the mother and daughter outside. She looked at the refrigerator and saw that there were indeed a lot of cucumbers. It would take several meals to eat so many cucumbers. It seemed that she was using them to apply on her whole body. Women are very strange. A set of skincare products ranging from facial cleanser to various toners, isolation creams, facial creams, and creams can cost thousands to tens of thousands, but they still believe in natural hydration and buy cucumbers for a few dollars a pound. Come and make your own face. There is also a bucket of eels in the kitchen, so let's eat eels. Eating eels in summer and autumn is said to be more beneficial than ginseng. Lu Chang'an does not need to replenish the body, but En Nuan and Lu Yuwang do, and the eel is also quite delicious. Eels are not pleasing to the eye, but Lu Chang'an appreciates their evolutionary path. All eels are born female. After they mature and are taken over by male eels, they become pregnant and give birth to children. Very angry, he turned into a male eel and went to find other female eels for revenge. Presumably a considerable part of the LGBT community likes this ability to change biological gender very much, and will be very moved by eel's life. If eel can give a speech at a rally of the LGBT community, it will definitely be a good story. Lu Chang'an found that he did not have the ability of an eel, and he felt that he was not that perfect. Just thinking about it, Lu Chang'an had absolutely no interest in experiencing the life of an eel. Eel is also delicious when made into steamed buns. Few people have eaten eel steamed buns. However, as early as when Lu Chang'an was the Song dynasty version of Kyushu Fenglai swordsman, Lu Chang'an had made eel steamed buns, which was recorded in Tokyo Mengwulu. In Ben Cao Chuyun, Zhao Kiguang said that there are yellow eels and green eels. The green eels are called vine eels and wind eels. They are born in cold ponds. The ones Lu Yuwang bought are green eels. Lu Chang'an put the eels into the water to boil, and saw some eels bent out of the water. Lu Zhongzhou in the Ming dynasty wrote a story about a scholar named Zhou Yu who was cooking eels and found that the heads and tails of the eels were in the hot water. The middle part was bent out of the water. Later it was discovered that the eel was pregnant and full of fish roe. From then on, Zhou Yu stopped eating eels. Lu Chang'an pushed the eel back out of the water. Many scholars and literati like to make up such pitiful stories. In fact, The eel bending out of the water has nothing to do with whether it is pregnant or not. People will also bend when boiling lobster and shrimp. The eel was cooked until it was half cooked. Lu Chang'an removed the head and bones, cut it into shreds, added soy sauce and wine to simmer, then added daylily, winter melon, and green onions to make a soup. This method is more nutritious, while the eel here in southern Hunan is more nutritious. The traditional method is either fried shredded eel or braised eel with cucumber. In fact, fried eel paste is also delicious. The shredded eel with minced garlic is bubbling in the oil when it comes out of the pan. Some people make eel segments, and these eel segments are the flipping of the top of the bubble is called a swimming dragon. Lu Yuwang had tempeh at home, and after smelling the smell, he found that it was a finished product that had been sealed for at least a year. It tasted just right. Lu Chang'an took some to make stir-fried pork with tempeh. Looking at the brown-red clay pot, it seemed that he had made it himself. It was either a gift from others or made by Lu Yuwang's mother. Lu Chang'an had met An Nuan's grandma. She was a woman with a rather gentle and traditional appearance. A native of southern Hunan at this age should be able to make it, and this method is consistent with Lu Chang'an's is very close. They are both made from the method of making tempeh in central Hunan, not Liuyang tempeh. Lu Chang'an saw that there were still a few strips of Japanese tofu in the refrigerator, so he decided to make hibiscus tofu. This dish originally used tofu, but the special feature of Japanese tofu is that it is soft and tender, and the taste is different. Some people say that tofu is like a young girl, while tofu is like a half-cooked beauty. Lu Chang'an glanced outside the kitchen and felt that this bowl of hibiscus tofu was very suitable for the occasion, but they must have never read 100 Songs of Food in the Old City. Her skin and appearance are uneven, but before she throws down the book and falls asleep, she looks like a beautiful woman who is called half old, yet still able to scratch her head and show off her charm. The poems are written in general, just in response to a scene. When there was only this one dish left, An Nuan ran into the kitchen after taking a shower. "I want to learn how to cook from you." An Nuan put her hands behind her back and shook her upper body. She watched Lu Chang'an work methodically among the firewood, rice, oil, salt, soy sauce, and vinegar. The man's concentration while cooking could easily make girls feel a special kind of warmth. I can't help but imagine seeing countless scenes like this in the future. As long as you know how to eat, prepare a recipe and order whatever you want, Lu Chang'an reminded. In addition to dishes that require special kitchen utensils and creative roots, I can cook too many dishes. I can make one meal every day. If you don't learn the same thing, what else are you going to learn? There's no need to master repetitive skills. You mean if you can do it, it means I can do it? You do not want. Think. An Nuan ran up behind Lu Chang'an and hugged his waist. As soon as Lu Chang'an said go out and play, An Nuan consciously let go of him and ran out of the kitchen with a blushing face. An Nuan came to Lu Yuwang's bedroom. Lu Yuwang usually took a shower first when she got home from work, but Lu Yuwang would not do this when there were other men at home. She was still wearing her work clothes and came out of the study. "I brought a few books over and looked up information on my desk. Mom, would you like to try the new ones you bought last week?" An Nuan was rummaging through Lu Yuwang's closet. "You don't overestimate your capabilities," Lu Yuwang sneered without looking back. "Don't look down on people so much." An Nuan responded with a hum. "Do you and Lu Chang'an talk like this?" Lu Yuwang was still amused by An Nuan and couldn't help laughing. He stood up and hit her with a smile. "How is that possible? In front of him, I look like a lady every day." "No, I am a lady." An Nuan stopped her laughter. Lu Chang'an couldn't let Lu Chang'an see her slightly salty look. She must be cute in front of him. Cuteness is the most important thing. You can really pretend. Lu Yuwang shook his head. When An Nuan and Hans Hizzi were together, they would talk about any nonsense. The little girl was inexperienced, curious, and unable to experience it. What she said was really unconstrained. Lu Yuwang heard after several times, She wouldn't care. What's there to care about? It's just chatting in private. A good girl is still a good girl. It is normal for girls nowadays to be more dirty than boys. And Nuan went back to her bedroom to put on her underwear. When she changed her underwear and came out, Lu Chang'an had already prepared the meal. Lu Yuwang was also a very particular person. Lu Chang'an was already cooking, so he was not required to serve the food and serve it. It would be nice for the guests to show off their cooking skills. But there is no reason for people to keep busy with their mother and daughter waiting for food. That is treating people as servants. After An Nuan came out, she hugged Lu Chang'an, who was sitting down, to praise him for his hard work. After letting him go, An Nuan took another peek at Lu Chang'an. This time she hugged him, reminding him of the difference between the two hugs. I kind of don't want him to find out, but I feel like if he found out, what would he think? What would he be thinking? Thank you, classmate Lu Chang'an, for your hard work, so that we can enjoy the fruits of it. And Nuan clasped her hands together and was polite, and then looked at Lu Chang'an, who looked calm. It feels like he didn't notice it at all, this idiot. And Nuan pouted, picked up the rice bowl, covered her face and took a bite of the food first. He should be able to find it. In the past, he often hugged him from behind and tried to put him down on the ground. Although he failed every time, he should have been used to it. That time in the kitchen was very different. You're still biting your chopsticks, Lu Yuwang hit An Nuan again. Hit me again, An Nuan growled in a grieved tone. Lu Chang'an, have you seen this? This is my daily life at home. I get beaten every day. Being beaten every day is Zhou Dongdong's daily routine. Lu Chang'an laughed. Zhou Dongdong is a very smart child. How can he be like you? Lu Yuwang didn't believe it. She still remembered that after the college entrance examination results came out, she invited several children to dinner. And Nuan called Zhou Dongdong to come, and the child took one bite at a time. Sister, it makes Lu Yuwang feel so happy. How can such a smart child be beaten every day? And Nuan also laughed, because only Lu Chang'an would call Zhou Dongdong a stupid child. Zhou Dongdong is in elementary school, and he will be a first-grade kid from now on, An Nuan said. Which school are you in? It's too difficult to get into good schools now, Lu Yuwang asked casually, sighing by the way that she had never worried about An Nuan's admission, but she had also seen many articles about degrees in her circle of friends. At Yuxiang Elementary School. Oh, it's the original school for the children of military cadres. This school is good. By the way, I know the principal of Yuxiang Primary School. I have a good relationship with her wife. How about I call her and ask her to talk to Zhou Dongdong's class teacher? Can you please take care of me? Lu Yuwang admired smart children very much. No need, I just got in because of connections. This is also a personal favor. It would be fine if Lu Yuwang was the leader of Yuxiang Primary School. There would be no need to find someone else. What's more, Qin Yinan's greeting was very useful. Lu Yuwang didn't say anything, and turned around to praise Lu Chang'an's craftsmanship. The eel soup was sweet but not greasy, and Lu Yuwang, who had eaten very little at night, was ready to drink a second bowl. Now Lu Yuwang will no longer tell An Nuan that Lu Chang'an has any major shortcomings that are worthy of breaking up. People always have shortcomings, but the more important thing is to have advantages. Many people just find a decent advantage. Difficult. Lu Chang'an is good at pleasing girls. He is also attentive, versatile, and his cooking skills, tisk tisk, he is not afraid that he will not have any skills in the future. As long as he treats An Nuan well, Lu Yuwang can no longer find any reason to object. Such a boy is naturally eye-catching, and there must be many girls who like him, but are they afraid that he will not be able to resist the temptation and give up on him? There is no reason for this. Many men have not cheated, they just don't have the opportunity. After dinner, it was An Nuan's time to show off. An Nuan cleared the table and went to the kitchen to wash the dishes. Lu Yuwang boiled tea and water. She and Lu Chang'an sat next to the coffee table and brought out some pine nuts and cherries. Lu Yuwang's lesson plan was still on the coffee table. She opened the lesson plan and inside it was a paper organized with a long stainless steel clip. This is why An Nuan always paid attention to the reason why hitting someone in her lesson plan was particularly painful. Lu Yuwang was interested in giving Lu Chang'an a test. I heard from An Nuan that you study a lot of poetry and poetry. How about modern poetry? When talking about modern poets, you can't avoid Guo Moruo. The recent controversy about Guo Moruo on the internet a lot, it can be regarded as a phenomenon. Next year is the 40th anniversary of Guo Moruo's death, so the college has done such a topic. You can read my paper and we can communicate. Lu Chang'an took it over and didn't flip through it. He just opened it and read, I have told An Nuan before that reading comprehension is the art of slaying the dragon. In fact, there is another very important point in our basic education, which is to repeatedly emphasize the dialectical view of problems. It depends on the person, but the current impetuous trend is that it is black and white. Talking about a person and digging out the black spots on him can make people feel as if they should be thrown into the 18th level of hell. It does not care at all whether the person is a saint or a saint. Someone with no black spots at all. That's the truth. Please tell me your opinion. Lu Yuwang nodded. The most important thing for students of this age is not to be impetuous. The most impetuous thing is that these people not only do not look at problems dialectically, but also do not allow others to look at problems dialectically. As long as you mention the achievements of a person whose black spots have been found in other areas, you will be considered you. It's to clear your name, and I'll put hats on you one by one. Lu Chang'an smiled. No matter what, Guo Moruo was able to join the party and join the army in 1927 to participate in the revolutionary struggle. And was put in danger. This is quite remarkable. Think about that time. What are most literati doing? Especially those who later enjoy the reputation and treatment of masters. Then where do you think the current trend comes from? Lu Yuwang felt that what Lu Chang'an said seemed familiar and had a slight impression, but he couldn't think of it for a while, so he wanted to induce him to talk more in depth. The root cause is too complicated, and it is administrative work to explore it. Lu Chang'an shook his head without talking about it. The main reason is that many people now get their knowledge from places like Weibo, Moments, and Taiba. Where does life experience come from? On Zhihu, after reading an article about what kind of experience XXXX is, you will have the confidence that you have experienced XXXX. Lu Yuwang's expression changed slightly. This passage seemed a little too familiar. Lu Yuwang stood up calmly and said, "You drink tea." I suddenly remembered that I have a topic to study. Lu Chang'an nodded, although Lu Yuwang looked calm on the surface but his eyes were actually trembling. Lu Yuwang came to the bedroom and took out his mobile phone. What Lu Chang'an said was similar to what the uncle said when discussing these issues with him. Lu Yuwang was particularly impressed by the passage about experiencing life through Zhihu. Lu Yuwang logged into his own account, and then he realized, that day when the uncle was commenting on his selfie, he said, "Your name sounds like a middle-aged woman." Lu Yuwang was very angry. His account was deleted. Deleting people was really just an impulse. Lu Yuwang stamped his feet. The most important thing now is, how could it be such a coincidence? It's amazing. This chapter has 6,500 views. I actually update so many every day. I think I still have potential that can be tapped. Please give me a monthly pass. You are listening to Novels at Bless Up channel. Wish you happiness and luck. Please subscribe to receive new novels. How do you feel about this novel? Please like and leave a comment. I'm really immortal. Author, Chulian Kuikan Ru Xiahua. Chapter 290. Lu Yuwang felt that the weather was a little hot, so she took off her stockings, folded her hands on her chest, walked to the balcony, and sat on a small stool with her hands on her legs. She found that outside the balcony garden she had arranged, the old Osmanthus tree of unknown age had buds scattered here and there. I closed my eyes and smelled it, and there was indeed a very faint floral fragrance in the air. Ah, it's blooming again this year. Lu Yuwang remembered the beginning of Old Capital and sighed like Chico. The trunk of the sweet-scented Osmanthus tree is much thicker than Lu Yuwang's waist. Of course, its thick bark and moss-covered trunk cannot compare with Lu Yuwang's delicate body. Lu Yuwang recalled the long-term chat with Uncle, which was actually quite pleasant. She could always find a lot of academic inspiration from his knowledgeable conversation, such as this recent paper. Deleting people was a bit impulsive, but Lu Yuwang was really angry. This uncle had always been outspoken, and he never cared about things that women were particularly taboo on. After a woman reaches the age of 30, she becomes more sensitive to age than a man can imagine, especially since Lu Yuwang is running towards 40. She just prays that the day of 40 will never come, because after the age of 40, it's just for the middle-aged women who are going through menopause. It's so disgusting, I still get angry thinking about it now. Lu Yuwang sat on a small stool holding his mobile phone and searched for how to retrieve deleted friends' chat history, but there was no way Lu Yuwang could figure it out. The only simple way is to delete him yourself. If he doesn't know, you can see the remaining chat messages on his phone. There is nothing important about the chat information. What is important is whether Lu Chang'an has it on his mobile phone. It can't be possible, right? This is ridiculous. But Lu Yuwang felt more suspicious than ever. She had also suspected some things before, such as suspecting that Lu Chang'an was the uncle's son. Now she is a little doubtful. Oh, this is too embarrassing. If it is true, then Lu Chang'an must be killed to save face. Lu Yuwang stabilized her mind and walked out again. She stretched herself and said nonchalantly, "It turns out that I have already read it, I have been too busy recently. Fortunately, I have a netizen who guided me through a lot of information. The source asked me to look for arguments. When writing a paper, it would be really convenient to have someone to help me grasp the direction and point out the information." Lu Chang'an remembered Lu Yuwang's sudden interruption of the topic just now, and also recalled the content of his original chat with Lu Yuwang when he sent messages. A person talks a lot every day, especially those who are good at chatting. The topics range from the raising of Wagyu beef to the production of black beans to verify the need to cultivate taste. From tsunamis, the establishment of scholar bureaucrats in the Song dynasty, it can be extended to the establishment of scholar bureaucrats in the Song dynasty. Wei's Huang collection and notes confirms the history of the demise of the great clans in the Middle Ages, from the intersection of Xia's Hiking, Zhang Ailing, Qian Zongshu, Shen Kongguan and others to why Zhang Ailing worked in the US intelligence agency and cooperated with anti-China and anti-communist propaganda but was repeatedly commemorated by the domestic media. However, Guo Moruo the treatment is completely different. By the way, here's the problem. During that time, when Lu Yuwang asked for information related to Guo Moruo, he said the same things he just said again, so Lu Yuwang was here to test now. She noticed that she was pretending the uncle who the little girl often chats with is pretended to be the boy in front of her. A blessing in disguise is a blessing in disguise. If you often walk by the river, you will always find fish. A wise man will make a mistake every time he thinks about it, and a fool will discover it. Lu Chang'an held the tea and unconsciously changed the way he held the teacup, holding the top of the cup with one hand, because only elderly uncles would hold the teacup with both hands. She couldn't be sure and was very confused, so she used the little wisdom in her mind to test. Lu Chang'an reached into his trouser pocket and turned off his phone. He didn't know that Lu Yuwang had deleted her. Lu Yuwang usually used social software app to contact him. He didn't have the uncle's phone number. As long as she didn't send a message to Lu Chang'an. If there is a message notification sound coming from your mobile phone at the same time, then there is no problem. The last time she found the uncle in reality, it was just a fluke. Our freshman year is all about basic courses, so we shouldn't have to write any papers. Lu Chang'an took a sip of tea and turned to look at Lu Yuang with a smile. This smile is really sunny and youthful. It doesn't look like that uncle's bohemian impression. Lu Yuang also nodded. I entered the laboratory during my freshman and sophomore years. It would be good if I could have one or a few sci papers in my junior year. Yes. It's just that you are obviously more interested in literature and history. Why do you want to study biology instead? I'm more interested in myself. Well, I'm more interested in the human body. I want to study myself again and explore natural and supernatural evolution. Speaking of the human body, Lu Chang'an noticed that Lu Yuang had taken off his stockings and his skin was as snowy. It seems that An Nuan has inherited this from Lu Yuang. Every time I see An Nuan jumping on the court, I always find it pleasing to the eye. Lu Yuang nodded, stood up again and went to fill his cup with water. He turned on the TV and changed several channels. It seemed that he had nothing more to ask Lu Chang'an. It's great to be able to choose a major based on interest. What do you think the major I wanted to study was when I was a kid? Lu Yuang suddenly asked. Lu Chang'an remained silent. Of course he knew, but how could he say it? When he began to notice Lu Yuang's intentions, how could she successfully pull off the trap? Is it to write a novel? There should be many people in your area who want to be a woman like Zhang Ailing or Qian Yao. Lu Chang'an guessed. Lu Yuang's expression changed. He was a little suspicious that Lu Chang'an was scolding him, but he couldn't be sure. But if the uncle said that, Lu Yuang was definitely being sarcastic. I wanted to learn computers at that time. Lu Yuang mentioned a relatively popular major at that time. Very good. Lu Chang'an nodded. Writing novels is not considered a major. Lu Yuang tapped his finger on the cup. I once wrote a novel. After writing tens of thousands of words, I couldn't finish it. When I read it, I felt that I could write it too. It's not like that when it's written. Are you lucky enough to see it? It's on my computer. I didn't post it online. Forget it. I'm sorry. Lu Yuang refused. Oh. The topic was over, and Lu Yuang was about to find a topic to explore naturally, when An Nuan had already packed up the kitchen and came out. My mother rarely makes tea for others. She makes the tea herself. An Nuan looked a little surprised. It's really something new. Am I going to look at your boyfriend coldly? Lu Yuang was not in a good mood and glared at An Nuan. That's not okay. I'm just allowed to look at him coldly. An Nuan took 2 cherries in her hand and reached out to hug Lu Chang'an's neck to lift him up from his seat. I'm the only one in school. If I can bully him, I will bully him every day. Okay, hurry up and leave. Don't show affection in front of me. It's annoying. Lu Yuang said angrily, waving his hands to drive people away. Girls don't know how to be more reserved, for fear that others won't know how precious she is to her man. Like friends. Watching Lu Chang'an and An Nuan leave, Lu Yuang walked to the door, opened the door again and took a look at the backs of Lu Chang'an and An Nuan. After thinking about it, he came back and made a phone call. Old Zhao, does your library have any rules and regulations that allow students to confiscate their mobile phones if they bring them into the study room? Lu Yuang asked. That's not the case. You can make a rule. Well, Professor Lu, you can't do this. Students don't have any opinions. Generally, they just ask to mute their phones when entering the library. What are you doing? That's right. It's nothing. You're busy, haha. Lu Yuang hung up the phone and called a friend he knew who was a police officer. He thought it was too much to ask the police. He couldn't be so willful. After all, he was an adult. After chatting for a few words, Lu Yuang hung up the phone. He hung up the phone at the strange tone of the other party. It's a pity that I don't know the thief. I do know him, but he has been transformed and turned into a new person. Now he is an expert in the lock-picking industry. If he asks someone to do such a favor, he will probably feel insulted. Lu Yuang thought about it and decided that he still had to take action himself. The first way was to find an opportunity to steal Lu Chang'an's mobile phone. The second way was to change his account. Trumpet, this method is good, Lu Chang'an, if it is really you, just wait for the middle-aged woman to kill you. Please give me monthly votes. There are currently 2,544 votes. The minimum limit is 5,000 words tomorrow. When it reaches 3,000 votes, I will add an additional 5,000 words. Don't think that a 36-year-old person should be mature, steady, and strong-minded. You only need to think that the author of this book is a little younger than Lu Yuang, and you will probably be relieved. I didn't sleep well today, and my energy is not strong enough, that's all. I'm really immortal. Author, Chulian Kui Kan Ru Xiahua. Chapter 291. There is nothing more fragrant than Osman thus in the fragrance of autumn flowers. The tree is the tree in the middle of the moon, and the fragrance is the fragrance of heaven. But its shortcoming is that it is full of trees and leaves no room. The maxim of prosperity must inevitably decline, which is the principle of certain ups and downs. Wherever wealth and splendor come in one fell swoop, the magnolia represents the spring light, and the Osman thus represents the autumn color. The meaning of this passage is that if you want to make sweet-scented Osman thus mooncakes, you have to collect sweet-scented Osman thus while it is in bloom. Its flowering period is very short, and you can't eat a lot of it at once it's ready, otherwise you won't be able to eat it after you finish it. When Lu Chang'an and An Nuan walked out of the house, they could smell the faint fragrance of Osman thus on the road. The Osman thus at Xiongnan University always bloomed earlier in Lu Chang'an's memory. Although it is not as famous as the cherry blossoms in many places in Juncha and other universities, Xiongnan is the traditional Osman thus product production base. Once the flowers bloom, scattered commercial activities can also bring a lot of popularity to these flowers. Last year my mother and I were in Hangzhou, and there was a restaurant called Gyo Shanfang. We had Huapeo spring beef, 9-story pagoda curry prawns, hand-peeled longjing shrimps, hazelnut sauce foie gras and scallion pancakes, sea cucumber and yam puree, and sweet-scented Osman thus almond tofu. And Nuan recalled smelling the fragrance of sweet-scented Osman thus. I remember the name of this dish clearly. That's right, my mother ordered these dishes in those days, and I almost vomited from eating them. She also bought Osman thus wine and Osman thus 9-bend red plum tea. When she came back, she just put them under the coffee table. They are all unsealed now. Mu Van Nuan shook her head. Women like this kind of tone and show off. One day, I commented on your mother's selfie one day, saying that her name reminds people of middle-aged menopausal women. Lu Chang'an felt that he should tell An Nuan. I took a look and couldn't enter her circle of friends. Yeah, she deleted me. Let you talk nonsense, and Nuan was delighted. The problem is that I have talked about some topics with her before, and we talked about it again today. I said the same thing. She was a little suspicious. And Nuan is unhappy. That is to say, she may know that even though I knew she was not An Nuan, she still did not reveal that she was Lu Chang'an. As usual, she pretended to think that she was An Nuan as if nothing had happened. She acted as a strange middle-aged man and knew that she was not a little girl. She's making friends online. Lu Chang'an's words were very long, but An Nuan grasped the key points. This is the basic ability of reading comprehension, and she understood it. An Nuan grabbed Lu Chang'an's hand and said nervously, then does she know that I know? She probably doesn't know yet. I don't have any acquaintances on my WeChat, and I don't have any clues to provide her. Just put your phone away. It's best to delete me. How can that be done? And Nuan firmly refused. Deleting her boyfriend's WeChat account was no different from breaking up. I have reset the password on my mobile phone. I won't let her see it secretly anymore. Lu Chang'an nodded. In fact, it was not a big deal. He did not chat with Lu Yuang. The topics he talked about were normal. It was probably that Lu Yuwang felt that it was a bit embarrassing to pretend to be a little girl when he was discovered, but Lu Chang'an did not expose her. And also to cooperate with her, I think she can understand. That's good, one of my major worries has been relieved, and you don't have to talk to her about random things anymore. And Nuan pointed to herself and said confidently, talk to me, you like I can pretend to be what a beautiful girl should look like. What are you pretending to be? I don't like you even if you are not who you are. Lu Chang'an dismissed it. And Nuan held Lu Chang'an's arm tenderly and shook it 100 times. The two chatted all the way to the library. Lu Chang'an remembered something, the textbooks haven't been distributed yet, and we don't have any books. Why study on our own? I brought a book and Nuan was carrying a small school bag. You can also store books here. Lu Chang'an didn't believe it, so he ordered a small backpack. Not only did I pack 2 books, I also brought chocolate, milk, jelly, and a star cup, and Nuan added in a whisper, lapstick, eyelash curler, tissues, cute little mirror, comb, stockings. Why are there still socks? This is simply a space magic weapon, just a school bag as big as a palm. Why do you care about stockings? Isn't it natural for men to pay attention to stockings? That's right. Otherwise you think that when I was in high school, I always went to watch you play. Was it because I was watching your 30th level skills? It's disgusting. Keep shaking, don't stop. Lu Chang'an and An Nuan were walking and met Bai Hui, who had changed her clothes. Although Lu Chang'an said that An Nuan was ordinary in military training uniform, he was just teasing his girlfriend. In fact, An Nuan, with her tall height and you can't have an ordinary face. Bai Hui looks much more ordinary in a military training uniform. After all, her face looks a little round when she wears a hat. She can't even wear wedge heels. She's not as tall as usual. Just look at her. People who are not familiar with the dancing video may not recognize that it is Bai Hui, who once rivaled An Nuan in popularity from the affiliated high school. Now Bai Fen looks the same again. Wearing a Lolita dress and a small skirt, carrying her Hermes bag, she is as eye-catching as a fairy when she walks on campus. The wig she is wearing is a golden wavy hair, which is round and round. The cheeks are like those of a doll. When Bai Hui saw Lu Chang'an and An Nuan, her expression was naturally smiling with the enthusiasm of a classmate, but also a little reserved, with a hint of sarcasm remaining. She knew that An Nuan would stick to Lu Chang'an when she got to university. Obviously, the two of them we are not on the same campus, and we even ran over to go to the library together. Lu Chang'an, what's wrong with your hand? Bai Hui showed a slightly concerned look. Lu Chang'an's arm was shaking like a doorknob with a loose screw. She just held my hand and shook it. After shaking it for a while, she was too lazy to shake it. She asked me to keep shaking it to show that she was still acting coquettishly. It was a reward for me. Lu Chang'an was very happy and satisfied with this kind of reward. You're talking nonsense, it's you who wants to shake it, not me. The blush on An Nuan's cheeks was the color of another flower this season, and she stomped her feet in embarrassment, but fortunately she was in front of Bai Fen, so saying it had some positive effects. Bai Hui didn't mind the white eyes of the two of them when they saw him raising his head high and shaking his head. An Nuan held down Lu Chang'an's hand to prevent him from shaking it. Lu Chang'an struggled a few times to express his dissatisfaction. Let's go to study together, Bai Hui invited with a calm and gentle smile. An Nuan felt that Bai Hui was a little strange, but as an old classmate, there was no reason to refuse. Could it be that her plan was to take Lu Chang'an to find a quiet corner to read and eat at the same time, and look at each other and hit each other from time to time? This kind of behavior is not considered unethical as long as there is no one around. It's a pity that An Nuan thinks a little too much. Who told her that she didn't pay much attention to the study room in the library when she played with Hans Hizzy before? When she walked in, she found that there were so many students who loved learning. Even if the school had just started, many students there is no relaxation. After all, many people also understand that in this era, if you have no way to fight for your parents and have to work hard on your own, it is best not to waste any of your college time, otherwise, what you will waste will be your opportunities for the rest of your life. From the primary school degree to the college entrance examination, I have been working hard, even fighting for the hope of the whole family, and finally arrived at the place where I can finally obtain competitive capital. Ordinary people have no reason to relax. What my parents couldn't give me, I created on my own. I think many people who spend time here day and night have such ambitions to change their lives. I wish all the students who are studying seriously in college to be better themselves. En Nuan, Lu Chang'an, and Bai Hui found a corner and sat down quietly. En Nuan and Lu Chang'an sat together, and Bai Hui walked to sit opposite them. En Nuan took out the book first. She took an advanced mathematics teaching aid book for herself, and brought Lu Chang'an a copy of 100 Ghosts Night Journey by Torai Yamashian. She was already familiar with Lu Chang'an's taste, and her mathematics is a weak point, but in high school it was common for Lu Chang'an and Gao Duai to solve problems using methods other than high school courses. Yutagawa Kuniyashi's The Singing Monster, the picture of Ryago Jade Princess. Lu Chang'an flipped through the book, and then lowered his voice and said, "This game of Hyakumonogatari tells 100 ghost stories. One candle goes out, the last story goes out, and the real ghost appears. When do we play this game?" "Childish, you and Zhou Dongdong go play." En Nuan took out a star cup to eat, gave Bai Hui a jelly, and gave Lu Chang'an a piece of chocolate. Lu Chang'an is reading a book. Bai Hui also started to take out things from her bag. She took out a pomegranate, a power bank, a bottle of water, a makeup box, a copy of Career Planning, a charging cable, and 2 mobile phones. En Nuan also brought out another milk, just 1 bottle, and gave it to Lu Chang'an. In fact, she brought 2 bottles, but she felt that it was a bit bad not to give it to Bai Hui for herself and Lu Chang'an to drink, but to give it to Lu Chang'an and Bai Hui, that was not the case. Are you not happy for yourself? Just pretend that there is only 1 bottle for Lu Chang'an to drink. Bai Hui will probably think that it is natural to only give it to her boyfriend when there is only 1 bottle. Lu Chang'an looked up and saw that girls nowadays bring a lot of messy things to self-study, and even if they show them off, they may not actually be able to use them. Lu Chang'an continued to look at the drawings of the originator of the Monster Island series. When he was satisfied, En Nuan pushed him and found that the 2 girls had already packed their bags. "I'm going to Bai Hui's dormitory to play," En Nuan said in a low voice. Lu Chang'an just couldn't figure it out. Is your relationship good or bad? Girls' friendship is as confusing as the weather, unpredictable, and impossible to take seriously. "I won't invite you." Bai Hui was relatively reserved when facing Lu Chang'an today. Who wanted his girlfriend to be there? She doesn't want to be thought of as the green tea girl. So her tone was also lightly reserved, although Lu Chang'an didn't hear any difference. "You go ahead, I'll watch it for a while." Lu Chang'an nodded. The 3 of them arrived at the library at 6:30, and left at a little after 7 o'clock. As expected, the freshmen came to the library for self-study for the first time. Pretentious ingredients. En Nuan and Bai Hui left Lu Chang'an, who was looking at the ghost painting seriously, and walked out of the library hand in hand. Lu Chang'an is really like a child sometimes. He actually likes to read that kind of picture album. Bai Hui shook his head. "I only liked to read ghost stories when I was a child. There are always some things that boys can't grow up to." Lu Chang'an likes things that are illusory, unknown, and things that are unknown or difficult to access in the real world. And Nuan had a different understanding. "By the way, are the people in your dormitory easy to get along with? I didn't even think you would stay there. It's been 3 years since I went to and from school. I don't want to have to run around like this every day in college. I don't have the patience like Lu Chang'an. Walking every day is like looking at the scenery. I can't tell you who is in the dormitory for the time being. School has just started. Everyone will definitely behave a little easier to get along with. After a long time, it will be obvious when there are conflicts. Bai Hui pointed to her little skirt, just like when I wear a low coat, I don't think the style is too exaggerated for daily use. There's nothing wrong with wearing it, but with two girls, I couldn't accept it because I thought it was too ostentatious. We also discussed it, now it's a discussion, but maybe in the future, they'll say I'm crazy behind my back. En Nuan is thinking about how Bai Hui can bring up Lu Chang'an in every topic, but En Nuan has to support Bai Hui's dress. Although I'm not suitable for wearing this cute style, I think it's your freedom. Many people classify others as aliens if they have hobbies they cannot understand. It is too much. I remembered that the lady your cousin works as an assistant also likes to wear such small skirts. Yeah, a lot of people wear it. People with hundreds of billions of dollars wear it. Bai Hui has already practiced it, and is no longer surprised by the strange look in her eyes when she wears a small skirt. You can also try it. Try it on. When you get to the dormitory, you can try mine on. There is no difference between the bust size of a large size and a small size in a low shirt, only whether it suits you or not. Why emphasize bust size? En Nuan's expression was natural and she didn't doubt Bai Hui's intention at all. I really want to try it. Maybe some styles are particularly suitable for me. Of course, the girl is sincerely happy about this kind of thing. Hee, I just want you to give it a try. If you succeed, you will be fine. I hope there will be more low girls in the school. Does our school have a girl group? Or a club or something like that? There are low girl groups, but there are no clubs. Low girls usually join some animation clubs, hanfa clubs, and the like. Are you planning on getting one? I don't have the charisma, and I don't think I have the time or energy. Right. The two of them were chatting, and as soon as they walked not far, they met Qin's Haiqiang, Wei Xuanyi, and Sun Shu walking towards the library. En Nuan had met them before, especially on the first day when he went to declare his sovereignty and expressed that Lu Chang'an had a girlfriend. When he saw the three of them, he naturally smiled and waved, "Are you from Zixi? Let's step in." "No, we're just here to get familiar with the environment." "Where is Lu Chang'an?" "He's inside, let's go first." And Nuan also introduced the beautiful girl beside him, "This is my friend Bai Hui, who is also a freshman. She is a super beautiful girl." "Hello." Bai Hui smiled slightly, then turned his head. And Nuan knew what Bai Hui meant. Bai Hui felt that it was different from high school. This was an opportunity to meet more people and show her charm, so she didn't care much about it. Bai Hui turned around, of course, because she was not interested in continuing to chat. "Let's go first." The three people watched En Nuan and Bai Hui leave and stood there blankly. Another beautiful girl who broke through the dimensional wall. Is there any breakthrough in the dimensional wall? You thought it was paper? Wei Xuanyi looked at the backs of the two girls intently, and did not admit Qin's Haiqiang's point of view, but for such a beautiful girl, none of them are better than Zhu Huntang Bad. En Nuan may be better looking and more super girly, but is this difference meaningful? If you have a girlfriend like this, do you still want to be picky? Lu Chang'an is right. When you make 100 million, the next 100 million will not be so difficult. When you get to know a beautiful girl, you can get to know many beautiful girls, because all the friends of beautiful girls are beautiful girls. Girl Sun Shutong glanced at Qin's Haiqiang, who was most absorbed. "Qin's Haiqiang, do you want to chase me? I feel that you and Lu Chang'an have a good relationship. If you ask him for a number or something, he won't refuse to give it to you. Just take a look at beautiful girls." Qin's Haiqiang came back to his senses. "I don't have money to fall in love. There is a card draw event this month. I'll do a 648 first. Although the friends of beautiful girls are all beautiful girls, how come Lu Chang'an knows so many beautiful girls? Wei Xuanyi said a little unhappy. How do you know that Lu Chang'an also knows this girl named Bai Hui? Qin's Haiqiang asked. They were studying together just now, how can they not recognize each other? Oh. The three of them walked into the library together and saw Lu Chang'an sitting in the corner of the study room, reading seriously. Awesome, start studying seriously now. The three of them walked over and took a look at the books Lu Chang'an was reading. They suddenly understood why the books her cousin had chosen for him were in such a mess. They had everything but none related to their subject. Good evening. Lu Chang'an nodded in greeting and continued reading. Sun Shutong sat next to Lu Chang'an and smiled. How many beautiful girls do you know? Lu Chang'an looked at the three of them and felt that they didn't look like they were leaving. He picked up the book and said, aren't you here to study? Then let's go out and talk. The three of them were just here to get familiar with the environment, so they followed him out. You should be close to the water. It's not easy to chase the beautiful girls, I know, right? Lu Chang'an glanced at Sun Shutong and Wei Xuanyi kindly. Wei Xuanyi and Sun Shutong's hearts were suddenly filled with a layer of cold ice water, and they felt that Lu Chang'an might know how Zhu Huntang dealt with them. Actually, Yan Qingcheng is quite good-looking. Qin's Haiqiang tried to persuade Wei Xuanyi and Sun Shutong. Qin's Haiqiang felt that the two of them were a little obsessed. On the first day he met Lu Chang'an's girlfriend in Nuan, he probably had this mental understanding, Lu Chang'an's girlfriend is so good-looking, why can't he find a similar one? Lu Chang'an's example gave them the confidence to inflate their hearts, so they probably felt that whether it was Zhu Huntang or Bai Hui just now, they might not be unable to get it if they chased after it. Yan Qingcheng. Wei Xuanyi smiled. In fact, it's not bad. At least he has long legs for such a stature. His appearance is second only to Zhu Huntang in the class, but there are 100 here. Who cares about 80 points? Yes. Don't worry, Hunan University has a tradition of holding dances, held by teachers and students, and there are many social activities for freshmen. Don't worry, those sophomores and juniors are hungrier than you, and they will organize many activities. As long as you sneak in, they won't allow only girls to participate and not boys. Lu Chang'an kindly advised them not to focus on Bai Hui. Since that night in the hotel with Bai Hui, Jianning, and Lu Yuan after the misunderstanding, Lu Chang'an felt something had changed in Bai Hui. Whether it was Wei Xuanyi or Sun Shutong, let alone pursuing Bai Hui, it would be difficult to hang out with Bai Hui and play together often. You can't find a girlfriend in your sophomore and junior years. Do you think freshmen are easy to fool? Qin's Haiqiang smiled. It is human nature to make full use of one's own advantages. In a relatively unfamiliar environment, girls are prone to seek dependence and security. It is indeed better to take advantage of opportunities. It makes sense for seniors to do this. Lu Chang'an did not despise the matter of pursuing a spouse. He had observed it for countless years. In short, there was no new trick. From the male crow carrying something shiny to the female crow, to the various methods used by men now, they are actually the same. A few people chatted and walked out of the library. They walked to the right for a while and met Lin Feng and another boy who looked like a senior. What are you doing? After greeting each other, Lin Feng asked Lu Chang'an and the others. Just take a walk. I've assigned you a task. Lin Feng took out his mobile phone. These are the two girls we just met. Any one of them will do. Find out their contact information. The other three people all looked at Lu Chang'an, and Lu Chang'an looked at another boy. I am Director Yuan from the student union of your college. I think they are freshmen and I would like to get to know them. Most of the people who come here for self-study are from our biology college or the college next door, the senior boy said with a gentle expression. Get to know each other, Sun Shutong laughed, senior is so reserved. Call Minister Yuan, Lin Feng emphasized, showing obvious dissatisfaction. It doesn't matter, I am also an ordinary student. Minister Yuan patted Lin Feng on the shoulder to indicate that he didn't mind. I know this one has a boyfriend. Wei Xuanyi pointed to the photo on Lin Feng's phone. Ah, I particularly like this girl. She is lively, tall, and bookish. The other girl is a little weird in fancy clothes and is too ostentatious. Minister Yuan nodded. I have a boyfriend, Qin's Haiqiang reminded carefully again. It's fair competition, Minister Yuan said confidently. He has no virginity complex and doesn't mind it. As long as the girl is with him and is clean with her ex, it's fine. You go back and compete fairly with your father and your mother, okay, Lu Chang'an said calmly. Minister Yuan was stunned for a moment, wondering if there was something wrong with his ears. Lin Feng couldn't help but gloat over the fire. As for the three people in the dormitory, they were dumbfounded. Wei Xuanyi and Sun Shutong involuntarily took 2 steps back and did something that had nothing to do with them. Watching the show, even Qin's Haiqiang was a little worried for Lu Chang'an. Although Lu Chang'an had a cousin who was a counselor, it wasn't appropriate to be so irritable, right? After Lu Chang'an finished speaking, he ignored the group of people and walked back directly. It was true that he was keen on pursuing his spouse, but now Lu Chang'an did not support it. After seeing Lu Chang'an leave, Lin Feng seemed to realize that he wanted to vent his anger. He rubbed his sleeves and said, "Don't stop me. I have to beat him to death today. How can this guy talk?" Minister Yuan quickly patted Lin Feng on the shoulder. "Xiaolin, please be patient." "Minister, what do you think we should do? This guy just needs a lesson. If you just say a word, I will immediately bring him back and apologize to you," Lin Feng said indignantly but without losing his mind. Showing that he is a reckless man is certainly a way to please people. The disadvantage is that it makes people feel that they are useless and too impatient. "This Lu Chang'an just scolded me, did you all hear it?" Minister Yuan pointed at the 3 people in front of him. "He is not an impatient young man. How can he get angry at the smallest thing and look like he is losing face?" Wei Xuanyi and Sun Shutong hesitated for a moment and did not speak. Qin's Haiqiang was a little embarrassed. "Senior, no, Minister Yuan, Lu Chang'an's plastic Mandarin from southern Hunan sounds so hard to listen to." Minister Yuan smiled slightly and didn't mind. He wouldn't betray someone directly in front of his face, but he already knew who he was looking for in private. "Then you said you know that this girl has a boyfriend, and her boyfriend is Lu Chang'an just now?" Minister Yuan asked calmly. Everyone nodded now. Many people should have known that An Nuan came to show up twice during registration and stayed close to Lu Chang'an. Many students in the class saw it. It's fair competition. That girl is not his private property. She has the right to choose her own feelings. Minister Yuan waved his hand. "Let's break up. If you want to join the student union in the future, come to me first." After speaking, Minister Yuan and Lin Feng left. Lin Feng looked back at the 3 of them, his mouth slightly raised. Qin's Haiqiang had no ambition. Wei Xuanyi and Sun Shutong could still be saved, but they had this hesitant mentality of wanting to make progress but not daring to make progress. Obviously lacks decisiveness and courage, and will not be his competitor in front of Minister Yuan. Lu Chang'an had already walked out of the Xiongda University campus in the dark. Although he claimed that he asked An Nuan to tell anyone who tried to pursue her that they would die, he would not just kill Minister Yuan now. Will die does not mean killing him casually. There are ways to make him a new person from now on, as if he is willing to die. Lu Chang'an was in a calm mood. He could not have imagined that someone like Minister Yuan would appear. Super beautiful girls like An Nuan were originally a scarce resource on campus. People who thought they had some ability wanted to experience falling in love with a super beautiful girl. Dreamy feeling. As for fair competition, it was a joke. What Lu Chang'an said was not to insult him, but to advise him. Only his parents would talk to him about fairness. Those with normal IQs must be able to understand Lu Chang'an's advice. It was very appropriate and appropriate to the situation. When Lu Chang'an returned to his home, the bustling night of the city seemed to disappear without a trace at the corner of the street. It had nothing to do with this old community. Living in it, Lu Chang'an had never felt a sense of seclusion. The so-called Great Hermitage in this kind of word sounds very powerful, but in fact it has no meaning. It is a bit deliberately pretentious. It feels that the birth of these words is similar to that of some sentence fans on the internet, who create some words that have nothing to do with me and have never experienced. Come out with sentences about your past feelings. Lu Chang'an just walked between the two buildings, and when he saw the plane tree and the transport truck, he felt something was wrong. The door of the transport truck was open through a gap. The gap was not big, but Lu Chang'an could see that there was a faint light coming out from inside, and someone had gone in. Lu Chang'an walked over slowly. Could it be that he was a little thief like Li Hongfang? Catch him and give him a beating. If the coffin has been stolen, it was probably Shang Guandandan's choice. Opening the carriage door little by little, Lu Chang'an saw Zhou Dongdong sitting on the floor of the carriage. The bucket of beans was placed between her legs and she was grabbing the beans from the bucket leisurely with both hands. Put it in your mouth. Can you have some taste? Don't just want to eat what is edible, and eat a lot. Lu Chang'an folded his hands on his chest and looked at Zhou Dongdong against the car door. The beans are delicious too. Zhou Dongdong turned around and looked a little confused. Where's your mother? She just asked me to come down and eat beans with her. Lu Chang'an walked over and took Zhou Dongdong out. If you eat too many beans, you will be bloated. You will know how bad it is when your stomach hurts and you spank. Then my ability to eat can compete with Zhu's ability. What's this mess? Maybe if I'm a good eater, I won't be like other children who get stomachaches and stinky farts from eating beans. You are dreaming. Where is your mother? Mom works. Don't say that Sister Egg is my mother from now on. Lu Chang'an felt that Shang Guandandan was too ungrateful. What kind of hero is he using Zhou Dongdong? Bah, what kind of master of the harem is he? Why? She is your mother. As long as you don't mention it again, I will cook mandarin fish for you. This is fish I've never eaten before. Okay then. Zhou Dongdong took Lu Chang'an's little finger and hooked it. Lu Chang'an put Zhou Dongdong in his room downstairs to watch TV, then went to talk to Shang Guandandan.